It was phenomenal.
Okay, isn't it Canadian somehow?
It is, and really, and this is my question for you, because the story revolves around 9/11. And this small town of Gander, Newfoundland, population 9,000,
Okay.
had 7,000 people land at an airport. They had 7,000 people suddenly land when there was an all-stop, ground stop. Every plane has to come down. So suddenly the town went from 9,000 to 16,000 in an hour when all these planes just landed. And they had to take care of them for 5 days.
That's nuts. It's something you would never think about.
Right. But everybody has a 9/11 story.
And
anything in particular about you? I mean, any interesting thing about 9/11?
I was at Channel 4 on the morning show then. And Corey Barron was weather guy. And we had the big monitor over in the weather center. And Corey and I were there. It was just between reports. And we saw footage of the first plane that hit. And all of us in there, Mark Cox was there. He was on the morning show. And we were talking about it. And we were trying to process it. We're thinking, well, it must have been an accident. Somebody just ran into it on accident. So, how did the plane get in there? And, you heard the analysts talking about it on CBS, and they couldn't quite figure it out. And then the second one hit.
Yes.
And the world changed. So I was in the studio at Channel 4 trying to process what happened, doing a morning show.
Right there when the action was happening. Of course, Hall of Famer Fred Bottomer. Good to see you, Fred.
Hey, Brad.
You've got let's see, we're going to pull your mic up here. You've got an interesting 9/11 story.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was, at the time of the morning, I was getting both of my sons ready for, preschool or kindergarten. And, my wife right away said, don't let them watch TV. So obviously I didn't. So I drove them. I went to the preschool. And when I got to the preschool, all the kids and the nuns were standing around praying.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, I knew what was going on. And it was funny. Noah goes to that preschool that morning. And today he's working at the Pentagon in the exact location where the plane came down.
Oh, that's nuts.
So
Brad.
he's, right next to the chapel that they built to honor everyone who died in the Pentagon.
Wow.
He's in one of the offices near the site where the plane went down at the Pentagon. So that's pretty crazy.
That is very crazy. I related a lot to seeing Come From Away last night at the Muni because I was in Canada. I was stuck in Canada on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
My wife and I had just finished. In fact, we were sailing into Vancouver for cruising the Inside Passage. It was the last, literally, we were going to get off the ship in Vancouver. We'd been up there for 8 days. We're sailing into Vancouver when the planes hit the tower. We were literally 10 minutes from docking when the planes hit the tower. And so we were stuck in Canada for a period of about an extra 5 days before we could come home. And I tell this story because to me it exemplifies the difference between men and women. Because my wife's first reaction to being trapped in Canada and not being able to come home, her first reaction was, oh my goodness, our baby daughters are at home. We have to get to them because they need me. My first reaction was, if I'm stuck on the ship, that means they're going to feed me free shrimp and steak for an extra 5 days.
Wow.
Oh, no, I'm joking, Sue.
No, I know that you are. But, I'm just saying, I mean, it's just bizarre that you would be stranded somewhere. A friend of mine was stranded in Europe on his honeymoon.
Oh.
And they said, you've got to find hotels. You've got to stay for an extra 5 days or whatever. So people were scrambling, trying to find these places.
Right.
It was just a worldwide reverberation.
It was. And so we were stuck in Canada. We eventually got to Seattle after another couple of days. We got to fly home. And on the flight home, when we flew into Lambert and landed, there was universal applause on the aircraft.
Oh, gosh.
Because everybody on that plane had been trapped in Canada, just like my wife and I were trapped in Canada. So seeing Come From Away reminded me of that. But I also want to get to this because, as you know, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill got passed today. Here's what Mike Johnson said on the floor of the House right before the vote, number 19.
I'm going to just say this as plainly as I can. This is a simple truth. If you're for a secure border, safer communities, and a strong military, this bill is for you. If you're for common sense fiscal responsibility and reducing the deficit, this bill is for you. If you're for fair and lower taxes, bigger paychecks, affordable gas and groceries, and restoring dignity to hard work, this is the bill for you.
Now, what's interesting about this, and we're going to get to AOC's response to the big, beautiful bill in just a moment, but in part of this bill involves the elimination of taxation on tips and also the elimination of taxation on overtime hours. And this is going to help so many middle and lower class Americans to have this elimination of taxation, which, again, the point of wage earners, even high wage earners, is we should get to keep more of what we make. Why are you forcibly extracting too much money from our wallets when we're making this money? Well, this is actually going to apply even to middle-class Americans, to lower wage earning Americans. It's going to apply to everyone. And yet, even though hardworking Americans are going to be benefiting from this particular tax bill, here's what AOC had to say about the passage of the big, beautiful bill.
If you're at home and you're living off tips, you do the math. Is that worth it to you? Losing all your health care, not able to feed your babies, not being able to put a diaper on their bottom in exchange for what? This bill is a deal with the devil.
Now, let's break down what she said for a second. Think about what she just said. You're going to lose your health care. There's nothing in this bill that even deals with health care.
What is she talking about?
Nothing whatsoever. Well, she's practicing her speeches for running for president.
Oh, yeah.
But nothing in this bill deals with health care. And yet she says, if you're working primarily for taxes, this is what she said, or primarily for tips, rather, what is this bill going to do for you? How is it going to help feed your babies? Well, because you're going to make more money. That's how it's going to feed your babies. The tax income that you previously had that was taxed at a confiscatorily high rate, now it's going to be tax-free. That's going to help you feed your babies. You want to talk about how, this is not going to help you put diapers on your baby's bottom. Yes, it is, because diapers cost money, and when you make more money, you can buy more diapers. So to me, her entire position is not based on logic, not based on finances, not based on economics, but based on emotion. Hey, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to a great friend of mine, attorney John Davis. He's a criminal defense attorney. We're going to break down the Bryan Kohberger, because I have a lot of questions, and I want to get into the details about his plea bargain. So make sure you stick around. Brad Young sitting in today for Mark Reardon. We'll be back right after this on 97.1 FM Talk.
It was a beautiful day.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I was driving.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident on northbound 270 just north of Dorset. It's right there as you approach 270, and it's blocking, it looks like, the right-hand side. Yeah, the right lane and the right shoulder. If you are traveling in that area, you can, of course, expect a slow go behind it. Now, elsewhere this afternoon, it's not been too bad. We do have some volume on westbound 6440. You know, they've got that road work going on at the Boone Bridge, and it's caused a little bit of a delay. Also, northbound 55 is a slow go headed for the Poplar, and that's jammed back onto 44. But other than that, we're fine with the usual volume. Westbound 40 as you approach Hampton out through McCausland. And on southbound 270, moderate volume at Ladue Road, and again headed for 44. There was an accident southbound 270 near 44 that caused a delay there. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
Are you nearing retirement and don't know if you have enough money saved to retire? That is scary. Do you have a written retirement financial plan in place? Well, when it comes to retirement planning, the trusted team at Financial and Tax Architects are the best. They've helped people all over St. Louis retire with confidence. And that's what you want. You want to retire with confidence. Now, they offer a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. They hold these at colleges over the St. Louis area and in Illinois. No cost, no obligation, just learning. And at this class, you learn how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement. So call them today, 314-888-5101, or visit fta-ria.com and take the first step toward a smarter retirement. 314-888-5101.
Mark Cox here for my friends at Home Shield Foundation Repairs. When it comes to uneven concrete in and around your house, they can use their polyjacking equipment and level up your sidewalk, your driveway, even your basement floor. Matt Hayes, the owner, has shown me some incredible videos of erosion that can happen in your soil. But Matt can take care of that in a heartbeat. He's worked with a lot of my listeners, and we appreciate it. They offer lifetime warranties on all of their work and do waterproofing as well. Go to HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
The Mark Reardon Show
on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in today for Mark. And everyone's heard about this Brian Kohberger situation, also about the P. Diddy results of that jury trial that we got yesterday. So I wanted to reach out to a great friend of mine, John Davis, former federal prosecutor, current criminal defense attorney with Kessler Williams. JD, good to talk to you, buddy.
Brad, how you been?
Well, I've been good. Also, I was going to say the guy whose hair has its own zip code, John Davis.
I thought I told you not to mention that. But yeah, anyway.
You did. But out of jealousy, I've got to mention it. But
it's been a heck of a week in the criminal justice system around America, hasn't it?
It really, really has. And that's why I wanted to reach out to you, because you know this stuff so much better than I do. I don't practice criminal defense law. So I wanted to reach out to you because I've got questions on both of these. Let's start with Brian Kohberger, because he pled guilty this week to 4 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. There was also a burglary charge, but I don't think that mattered. And so it shocked a lot of people that he would do this. But here's one of my theories, and this is what I wanted to reach out to you on, because you are a criminal defense attorney, and everyone has this idea that oftentimes DNA evidence, because we see it on TV shows, which couldn't be further from the truth, by the way. All right. If we're analyzing our legal system based upon law and order, we're going to get it all screwed up. But here's the thing with the DNA evidence. This is one of my big questions. The DNA evidence that was obtained, and the federal officials wanted to track Kohberger's DNA to try to get a list of relatives, because they didn't know who he was. They just had some random DNA that was on the sheath knife, and on the sheath rather of the knife. And so they wanted to find some family members. So they ran it through some commercial DNA like 23andMe and other companies that analyze your DNA. They tried to run it through this DNA to find relatives of whom they suspected was the killer. But they did it as a regular citizen, not as a police agency. Did I get those facts right, John?
You did. It's called investigative genetic genealogy.
There you go. So in this instance, though, is there a problem maybe with the chain of custody when you're doing this as a regular citizen? And from your perspective as a criminal defense attorney, if this case would have gone to trial, could Kohberger's defense team attack that DNA evidence based on this idea that they ran it as a regular citizen instead of pursuing it as an investigation organization?
It's an interesting question and an interesting concept overall. So if they were to run it as law enforcement, they would need a search warrant under the Fourth Amendment. If they run it as a private citizen, they don't, because the Constitution doesn't apply to private citizens. It applies to the government. But circumventing the fact that it's an FBI agent running it as a private citizen is troublesome. Excuse me. Specifically, they ran it through, you mentioned 23andMe, but it was MyHeritage and GED Match were the databases that they ran it through. So the defense did what they should have done pre-trial and filed a motion to suppress. And that is, hey, you have evidence that we think you obtained unconstitutionally. And therefore, under ages and ages of case law, it can't be used at trial because you gained it improperly. The judge denied it.
Right. So that evidence was going to come in, but at a trial, could that have been the basis to discredit the DNA evidence? Because otherwise, if you take away this DNA evidence from Brian Kohberger, I know there was mountains of circumstantial evidence, cell phone pings, video of a white car that matched his description driving away from the scene of the crime. But when you boil it all down, in the absence of the DNA evidence, that was the only evidence that they had that actually put Kohberger in the room where the murders happened, right?
I agree. But in trial, the pretrial motion to suppress has already been denied. So it's coming in. Now, can you discredit the FBI agent or agents to get on the stand and say, isn't it true you did it this way? Isn't it true you did it that way? Yes, 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 yes. But the thing has been litigated, and it's coming in. The judge ruled that the DNA left on the sheath of the knife was abandoned. And in criminal law, the fact of the matter is, if you throw something away, you're giving up any legitimate expectation of privacy in whatever anybody finds from it. There's famous cases where
I know these.
You put your garbage out at the end of the driveway on Thursday night because the garbage man's coming early Friday morning. The police can come and dump it in the back of their truck and go through your garbage. Because you're sending a signal to the world, I don't have any expectation of privacy in this garbage, or you're running down an alley and the police are chasing you and throw a wallet or you throw a baggie of cocaine or whatever the case may be, you've abandoned it. And that's what the judge ruled in this case, was that there was he relied on the abandonment doctrine and then went a step further and said, did the defendant have a legitimate expectation of privacy on any DNA he left behind? And the ruling was no, again, relying on the abandonment doctrine.
Right. We're talking to criminal defense attorney John Davis, former federal prosecutor, now a criminal defense attorney with Kessler Williams right here in St. Louis. And John, you have been talking from your criminal defense hat. Switch over to your prosecution hat for just a moment. What would be, if you can do that, what would be the incentive for the prosecution when there's a lot of evidence, not only a lot of circumstantial evidence, but they can actually put him in the room? What is the motivation, or why would the prosecution be motivated to agree to a plea deal when they had such an enormous amount of overwhelming evidence?
Brad, that's the $1 million question, and I don't know the answer to it. And if I was a relative of one of those victims, and they are, I would be incredibly upset. That plea agreement that took death off the table, and I know one of the fathers is saying, one of the victim's fathers is saying, this is just adult daycare when he goes to prison. I mean, prison is prison, but we're in a state prison in Idaho. I don't know what the security is there, but I can't answer that question. This would have been a prosecutor's dream to try this case to its finality, which would have been the death penalty.
Well, I really, I mean, I could talk about this for another 30 minutes, but I know I want to get to P. Diddy before our segment's over. So, John, I want to talk about Combs for just a moment. And by the way, there's absolutely no truth, John, to the rumor that Sean P. Diddy Combs is now going to become the spokesman for Subway since they don't have Jared anymore. That's a rumor. Listen, that's a false rumor, so I don't want you to repeat that. But
that's fake news. I don't know that.
Totally fake news. I want to make sure that nobody thinks that's true. It's fake. So when it comes to P. Diddy, though, here's the question that I have, because when you're looking at the testimony from Cassie, the former girlfriend, and then the Jane Doe, talking about how they were forced into sex, how they were literally required by P. Diddy because he had such control over them. Isn't it oftentimes the case with celebrities that juries have trouble distinguishing between consensual and non-consensual sex?
Yeah, I think that's the case. And, I'll tell you, Brad, what I tell everyone, on famous cases like this or OJ or something, and someone calls me or talks to me and says, hey, you're a lawyer, what do you think about this verdict? And I have to say, honestly, I can't really comment on it because I wasn't in the jury. All I hear is what I see on the news.
Right. Good point.
But the fact of the matter is he's charged in count 1 with a RICO offense. And that is a really difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's a difficult statute to understand. It's a difficult statute to prove. It was designed in 1970 by Congress to take down organized crime, mainly in New York, the Gambino family and those kinds of folks. But it's been used for motorcycle gangs and political conspiracies and things like that. But it is really, really – I'm defending a RICO case right now in the District of Kansas, and our discovery is honestly millions and millions of pages.
Oh. Well, and we're going to have to go here in a second, John, but my feeling is that the prosecutors brought the RICO charge just so they could introduce other types of evidence to try to discredit P. Diddy without ever having to really prove RICO. But listen, hey, before I let you go, though, you're with Kessler Williams. If people want to reach out to you to talk about criminal defense issues, how can they reach you?
The best way is my cell phone, 314-696-9229.
John Davis, a great friend from law school. Thanks for all your help today and joining us on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
Great to talk to you, sir. Hey, we've got to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk to George Rosenthal, one of the owners of ThrottleNet, about how can you keep electronically safe over the 4th of July weekend. George Rosenthal, next on 97.1 FM Talk.
Please tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
Broadcasting what most people are afraid to say. Mark Reardon. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Eastbound 270 is completely shut down at Lilac right now. We have a serious accident, and it looks like a vehicle off the roadway. Again, eastbound 270 closed at Lilac. Now, traffic is being diverted around this thing, and we've got a parking lot jam that goes back past 367. So if you are taking eastbound 270 into Illinois, that is what is happening. You're going to want to find an alternate right now. Now, we also have an accident on northbound 270. This one is approaching 70. They've got the right lane blocked and traffic is stacked up there. We had an earlier accident westbound 6440 past Spirit of St. Louis Boulevard, and they had the right lane blocked. Still some volume in that area as well. Now, other than that, it's the usual volume plus. So northbound 55 jams headed for the Poplar, and it's jammed back past the 44 split. We've got volume on westbound 40 that starts as you approach Hampton, out through McCausland, and southbound 270, of course, slowing at Ladue Road and again at Doherty Ferry. This report brought to you by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Martins came over, we were having spaghetti when we suddenly noticed that we started getting sweaty. So we grabbed the keys Yes, and we ate it in the van. That's what my friend said. Call Jerry Kelly, man, JerryKelly.com. Give him a call, even though it's late. JerryKelly.com.
Hot dogs 2 for $5 on a fluffy bun. All beef hot dogs rolling in. Hurry, cause they're on the run. Pick your toppings anyway. Roll into this deal. Pick your 2, big Q2. Roll and mix a meal. Mustard relish, sauerkraut. Ain't no need to scream and shout. Get 2 all beef hot dogs and a big Q for $5. Only at QT. More than a gas station.
Hey guys, Glover here with my friends Mark and Neil Gelman from the Gelman team of eXp Realty. Selling your home, every situation is unique. Find the best options that are right for you from the real estate team who offer more options. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Annie Fry here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They are the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in today. I've been reading a lot of the comments. If you want to actually watch the show, not that anybody wants to see me. Trust me, you don't want to see me. But people may want to see Sue Thomas or see how we put the show together. You could go to YouTube, put in Mark Reardon Show, and you'll go right there. Some of the comments, one person said, Brad Young's volume is low. And I wrote him back and I said, no one in my entire life has ever said Brad Young's volume is low. Those words have never been spoken before. So it's certainly, my wife and kids are always saying, Dad, you're too loud. So it's never been said before. Anyway, I wanted to make time to work in George Rosenthal today because, number one, talking to George is fantastic. I learn something every time I talk to George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. George, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
And you're on a boat right now in Lake of the Ozarks. That's how much you care about being a part of the show. You're joining us from a boat.
I am live on a mile marker 3 on the north side, sitting in a cove, double anchored out. The kids are swimming and the dog's in the water with them.
Ah, that's the way we need to be doing it. I'm here working. You're on a boat.
I love you. I love you guys. I would never, ever say no to you guys, ever.
Well, thank you, George. And, of course, everybody knows George. He's one of the co-owners of ThrottleNet. And, George, for a lot of folks who go on vacation, maybe in airports, are there any security risks when you go to the airport, security risks for your phone, Wi-Fi hotspots, plugging your phone in? What are some of the risks?
Oh, yeah. In fact, something that's fascinating, for about $600-700 on the dark web, you can get a USB cable that looks exactly like any other USB cable you'd have for your phone. But the end that actually plugs into your phone, looks no different. It's not any thicker, but it has a little bitty chip in it that can do key logging, and then it saves that. So what they'll do is they'll plug this cord into the wall and walk away at the airport, and they'll just wait. And somebody will sit down, they'll see a cord sitting there, plug their phone in, and immediately now, I am now what's called port jacking. I'm now immediately on your phone, key logging everything that you have on your phone. Then when you leave, a lot of times they'll leave the cable because they want to be nice for the next person. You come back and all that data is sitting on that cable. So I would highly recommend a couple things. Get a USB cable that has data blocking. It's called a data blocker USB port. Do not attach to their Wi-Fi. I know everybody loves to use the airport's Wi-Fi. There are thousands of people on that Wi-Fi at the same time. Don't do that. Use your data or hotspot, of course. The other thing is, if you need power, bring a power pack. A little battery pack that's about the size of your hand. They're TSA approved. You can get a power pack. Do not plug that in, and do not do this. And don't ever get on your financial information in the airport. Especially don't get on your financial information on the airplane, because now there's Wi-Fi on the airplane. So you have to take the same precautions on the airplane, because not everybody sitting next to you is a nice person. So I can get on that Southwest Airlines or Delta Airlines Wi-Fi, and I can start looking for anybody that's on my plane and start keylogging the same stuff.
And George, one of the things that I've been noticing, that when I go to the airport, because I follow your advice, okay? I'm tech savvy. Yep. I never join any Wi-Fi that I'm not 100% sure of. But if you go to the airport and you check what Wi-Fi hotspots or what Wi-Fi is available, a bad actor could be at the airport and setting up their own Wi-Fi network and call it Lambert Wi-Fi free for all guests, and it could be a hacker, couldn't it?
Absolutely. There's a little device. You don't even need this particular device, but if you go and get a Flipper Zero, just like Flipper the dolphin, Flipper Zero, they're a couple $100. You can set up a complete Wi-Fi, anything you name it, anything you want, just like you said, and you can have it the exact same thing as Lambert, and maybe you change a character to make it a little different. But then you invite people on, and I can start keylogging everything, and I can see everything that they're doing. So that's why I don't like going on public Wi-Fi, especially at the airport. Yeah, I know we always talk about like Starbucks or, public Wi-Fi at a restaurant, but this is thousands and thousands of people at an airport, all on the same network. So your odds of finding somebody that's logging onto their bank information or credit card information is very high. So if I'm a bad guy, that's a great place to go and steal information.
Target-rich environment. At my house, I've got two Wi-Fi channels on my Wi-Fi. One I've called FBI Surveillance Team, and the other one I've called Department of Homeland Security. So the only reason I did it is because my neighbors, if they're checking for Wi-Fi, they're going to go, well, what? The FBI Surveillance Team is in our neighborhood? What? And of course, I'm just doing it to mess with them. But the point being is that if you're a bad actor, you can call your Wi-Fi anything you want, including something that sounds safe and innocuous, and then you can actually grab someone's data when they log into your Wi-Fi.
Yes, and then one other thing that's crazy, you know the skimmers that are on, that bad people put on gas pumps or they put inside of a gas station, and when you put your credit card in, it'll steal your credit card information. They're called skimmers. They're doing the same thing now at USB ports and outlets. They mimic the outlet of the airport, and they'll go and just pop a skimmer on, let everybody plug in for the day, come back, pull the skimmer, and all that data is saved in that skimmer. That's why I don't like plugging into anything that's inside the airport at all. And if you need power, bring a power pack. If you need data, use your hotspot. I know it can be a little crazy if you got kiddos watching Netflix or something like that, but maybe you up your data plan for that, just for that trip, and then you bring it back down to what you had when you come back. But it's worth doing that because, and everybody says, oh, it will never happen to me. It's happening constantly, thousands and thousands a day. And not just identity theft and all of the other bad things that happen, but taking all your money immediately while you're on vacation, scamming your credit cards and being able to use them while you're on vacation.
Yeah, I want to get to that. We're talking to George Rosenthal, one of the co-owners of ThrottleNet. Full disclosure, my law firm uses ThrottleNet. We love ThrottleNet. I'm not being paid to say that I love ThrottleNet, but I've got my whole law firm using ThrottleNet, and they're fabulous. And George, you mentioned credit cards, and one of the things that I've seen, and I don't know if this is anything that you've encountered or know much about, but RFID scamming where people can remotely read credit card numbers. Is that a real thing?
Yes. It's absolutely a real thing. Again, I go back to that little device called the Flipper Zero. It's about the size of your palm. It fits in your pocket. I can walk by anybody nearby, and if your cards are in a wallet, as I'm walking by, it's reading all of those chips that are in your cards, immediately saving it to the Flipper Zero. I can then go online and start spending money or doing whatever I need to do. So that's why I carry a wallet that's got metal sides to it, and it blocks any type of RFID reader, so that nobody can just walk by me in a crowded place and steal all my information.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've actually looked at some RFID wallets on Amazon, and what I've done, and let me know if you think this is a good idea, before I bought mine, what I've done is I looked at the reviews, because just because some wallet manufacturer says it's RFID proof doesn't mean necessarily that it is. So I've gone through and I've read through the reviews where there's really smart guys like you who have actually tested it, and they'll say whether it is or is not RFID proof. Is that a good idea to read the reviews before you buy it?
Absolutely, because let's see, a lot of these things are copied over in China, and they're sold to anybody at very low prices, meaning they'll copy what's called an RFID protector, but it's really not doing anything. They'll lower the price to make it really compelling, and then all of a sudden you get this cheap knockoff, and it does nothing for you. And again, there's going to be a lot of people downtown for 4th of July fireworks. You are standing shoulder to shoulder with total strangers that can do a lot of crazy things these days. It's not 1985 when you used to go down to the VP Fair. So when you go down there, make sure you have something that protects your credit cards, and make sure you're not having any type of guest Wi-Fi attached just because you're down. You're down out there on the grounds, and you think you need Wi-Fi. Use your data on your phone and make sure you have your credit cards protected.
Very good. George Rosenthal, man, you may have saved someone's financial equity today because of what you told them. That's how important this is. You could have saved their financial resources just by being on our show today. And the lake, how's the weather at the lake today?
It's absolutely beautiful, and thank goodness the rain is gone. So yay, everybody's done with the rain. It's very nice. The water's warm, and it's definitely busy. Let's put it that way.
Well, get back to hanging out with your family, George, and we will talk to you soon. George Rosenthal from ThrottleNet. Great to talk to you, my friend.
Great to talk to you guys as well. Happy Independence Day, and I hope everyone has a safe one.
Fantastic. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Talk to you later.
So, Sue, there's really just no end to the way thieves, criminals, and bad guys are creating ways to steal your money.
Yeah, they're really creative. If we put that force to good, think what we could do.
Yeah, I had a ex-brother-in-law, my sister's ex-husband.
Oh, okay.
He was a crook. And I'm not going to mention his name. He was a crook. And I always thought, you are so smart.
Yeah, if you were to, yes.
And you spend so much time trying to figure out how to steal somebody's money. If you applied that to good, you'd make a fortune and you wouldn't have to be a bad guy.
Boy, that's the truth. That really is the truth. And we've had George on a lot lately because it just gets worse.
Right. But I don't think a lot of people understand this idea of the RFID reader with credit cards. And I've seen a demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a live demonstration one time where a guy was standing on an overpass.
Ooh.
And when the cars were driving below him, he was reading their credit cards.
Holy cow.
And he had a reader, and the credit card numbers were just popping up on his LCD screen.
Wow.
On his RFID reader.
That's scary.
And so, yeah, people have to take precautions, and especially when we're traveling this weekend or going downtown and enjoying the fireworks, it's just have common sense. But what I think is the beauty of what George told us is these are issues that a lot of folks may not have even been aware of. Everybody on the planet knows there are computer viruses and hackers out there for computers, but I don't think a lot of us realize that those same bad actors are going after our phones as well.
Oh, yeah, they're everywhere.
And going after our credit cards. Hey, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, I want to go through some additional stuff here today. My stack of stuff is truly enormous. But one of the things I want to talk about is the cases that the Supreme Court is going to take up for the next term, because there are some massive issues that the Supremes will be deciding in the next term, just as they did in the current term. Brad Young sitting in today for Mark Reardon. Stick around on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
All right, here is some good news in traffic. They have just reopened eastbound 270 at Lilac. Now, they had it shut down because of an accident, but it's taking a while. We had a parking lot jam that went back past 367, so it's taking a minute to unwind. If you're stuck in that jam, it's going to get better fairly quickly, but it is taking longer than you would expect. Accident reported eastbound 70 approaching 141. Traffic slowing there in both directions. We've got northbound 170 slowing at 70. And some volume now eastbound 44 making that merge onto northbound 55. It's jammed headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. 44 westbound slowing at 270. And southbound 270, moderate volume from Olive down through Doherty Ferry. 141 jams at 44 as well. This report brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I'm so excited to introduce everyone to Bitcoin Ben. Some of you might be familiar with him, but Bitcoin, of course, is the number one appreciating asset of all time. How many times have I sat here on the air, unfortunately, in ignorance, saying, I don't get it. Now I get it, and you're going to get it too, because coming to St. Louis in August, the home of Ben, Bitcoin Ben, is the 7th Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club nationwide. This is a great opportunity for you to get educated. The club teaches members what Bitcoin is, how to buy it, how to safely store it, how to avoid scams. It's live classes on Bitcoin and digital assets. You have an opportunity to really try to understand what this is all about. And Ben is amazing. And by the way, Ben is no elitist. He's not a fancy Wall Street guy. He's exactly the opposite. Ben actually used to be a truck driver, truth be told. And he has so much passion and so much knowledge, by the way. And he wants to share this with the audience in St. Louis so badly. I want you to learn and have a chance at this once-in-a-lifetime generational wealth. Go to bitcoinben.io to hear more about the new St. Louis club. The program's Bitcoin Ben TV is out there. Private Key Bank coming this fall. For information, call 941-413-6920. Again, the website is bitcoinben.io. That's bitcoinben.io.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
3:46 this time check, sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Viking, committed to exploring the world in comfort, offering small ship experiences with a shore excursion included in every port and programs designed for cultural enrichment. Discover more at Viking.com. That's Viking.com.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Hey, it's Kim. Hope you all have a wonderful and safe 4th of July. Scott, Ethan, Sue, and I will see you Monday morning starting at 5 a.m.
The Mark Cox Morning Show, weekdays from 5 to 9, right here on 97.1 FM Talk. The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Just looking over some of the additional comments here on the YouTube channel. Brad Young sitting in for Mark Reardon today. If you want to watch the show and be a part of the text of the show, you can actually text in via YouTube. Just go to YouTube, put in Mark Reardon Show Live. You can be a part of it. And by the way, to me, that's what I love about talk radio. I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I enjoy it. And one of the things that makes this different, you might be even listening to this on a podcast later on, but for those who are listening live, you can actually be a part of the show. During the show, I'm going to be reviewing and reading some more of these comments, and that interactive nature of talk radio is something that truly doesn't exist anywhere. If you're listening to Joe Rogan podcast, you can't text Joe, ask him a question, be a part of the show. That's not something he can do. If you're watching Sean Hannity on Fox News, he's not going to take your questions. But here, it's truly interactive. And to me, that makes talk radio different than any other medium. Now, I'm a close watcher of the Supreme Court, and the court over the last 2 weeks has announced what cases they're going to take for next year. Keep in mind, unlike other courts, the Supreme Court only take the cases they want to take. They can turn them down for any reason, no reason, doesn't matter. And yet they do announce what cases they will take. And one of the big topic cases that they're going to take next term is dealing with transgender sports participation here. Sue, that's really a big issue right now, isn't it?
It is. And of course, with that decision the forced decision, University by Penn,
Yes.
having to deal with that and the swimming yesterday, it'll be interesting to hear what they say.
Right. And of course, that was an agreement with the Trump administration that the University of Pennsylvania agreed to strip titles from transgender athletes and to not allow transgender athletes moving forward. That was an agreed-to settlement with the Trump administration. But what about universities that don't want to do that, and then you have states that try to ban it?
Is that part of the scope of the case that the Supremes are taking on?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what's happened is 2 different states that are involved with this. One of the states, I believe, is Idaho, and I believe that the other state involved is West Virginia. But students who were transgender, and almost always, we try to try to be politically correct sometimes and say, oh, just transgender students. It's always biological men competing against biological women.
Yes.
You never see any cases of biological women saying, I want to play football in the men's football program. Nobody ever says that.
There's a reason for that.
There is. And it doesn't mean that anyone's better or worse. Again, I've mentioned this before. My daughter rode Title IX scholarship, rode through KU, and I wouldn't have wanted her to have to compete against men rowing in a boat.
Doesn't make sense.
It just doesn't make sense. There's a reason we have an NBA and a WNBA.
Yes.
And it's not because of any reason other than it would be non-competitive to put them in the same organization.
Biological differences.
There are, and it's okay to say that. But here's what's interesting about this case that's going to be next term. I don't know if you remember, Sue, but a couple of weeks ago, the Supreme Court rendered a decision regarding what's called transgender affirming care, which is a euphemism for hormonal suppressants, surgery, really genital mutilation. Tennessee banned that. The Supreme Court upheld a state's right to ban that type of care. Remember that?
I do.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't understand who don't watch the court is that the court doesn't just willy-nilly come up with these decisions. They apply different mechanisms for analysis. So, for example, in situations where a law infringes on what's called a fundamental right or a suspect classification like race or gender or religion, the court uses what's called strict scrutiny. What does that mean? That means that the government that's passed a law or passed an executive order, the government has to prove a compelling interest and that law is narrowly tailored to achieve that interest. So that's what happened in this Tennessee case. The people were saying this law discriminates based upon gender and my right to choose my gender day in and day out. And so, therefore, strict scrutiny has to be applied. The Supreme Court astutely said, no, this doesn't have to do with gender. It could be men trying to be women. It could be women trying to be men. It's not gender specific. It's age specific, and it's also medical procedure specific. And if you look at those things, the court doesn't have to apply strict scrutiny. They can apply what's called the rational basis test, which means the government only has to show that the law is rationally related to a legitimate government interest or purpose. And Tennessee showed they had a legitimate purpose, number one, in keeping children from being mutilated, because there's a reason we don't let kids vote, okay? They don't know anything. They're kids. And yet somebody who's 6 is going to tell you, when Johnny's going to tell you he's really Jane, he doesn't know. He's 6. Okay?
Right.
We don't let them vote, we don't let them drink beer, and we don't let them fight in a war because they don't know what they're doing. And yet we're going to let people have their genitals mutilated. Children have their genitals mutilated because of this? No, we're not. And so that's a legitimate state interest. I think the court is going to look at this the exact same way when it comes to the athlete situation.
I hope so.
Where they say, look, it's not a gender situation,
No.
even though we all know it's always going one way. It's always men trying to become women to compete against women. But in theory, the laws are gender neutral. If you have to play in sports that align with your birth gender.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
And that means it's either men or women. It's not specific. It's not discriminatory. And if they look at that, number one, from a legal standpoint,
Sounds clear. Yeah.
There's a legitimate state interest. We don't want men having an advantage over women. That's why we have Title IX.
Correct.
That's why we have Title IX.
Yep.
Is to make sure that women have an equal opportunity, and you're taking away the equal opportunity of women if you make them compete against men.
Yep.
It's just that I don't even understand how this is an issue, really.
I know.
It should be common sense.
It should be. I think to most people it is.
I do. You know what, Sue? You're right. I think to most people it is. But yet the mainstream media lives in this bubble where they're surrounded by progressives, and they forget that most of America does have common sense.
Mm-hmm.
We do, except they just don't recognize it. So if the court applies that same standard, then I think that the court will uphold a state's rights, like what will happen, if it's not already, in Missouri, to make sure that If you're a biologically born man, you're not going to compete against biologically born women.
Wait, are you saying the states would then decide? The Supreme Court is not going to rule for the U.S. It'll say each state can decide for itself.
Right,
Okay.
because California is never going to say
No.
they're going to allow all of the flakes, fruits, and the nuts to compete however they want, okay? Because it's a cereal bowl state. So, but if Tennessee wants to decide,
then they're welcome.
They're welcome to do that, okay? It's really mirrors the idea of abortion, is that this is not something the federal government should decide. So each state can decide. So if a blue state wants to be blue, if a red state wants to be red, God bless you. You can do whatever you like. And if you as a person don't like it, I got one word for you. Move. Okay? There was a great comedian once that was addressing the starvation issues in Africa, and he said, we shouldn't be sending them food, we should be sending them luggage, okay, so they can move. Now, that's kind of not the same. Obviously, we want to help people who are starving, but the point is, if you don't like the state you're in, move. It's not all that difficult. But here's a couple of other cases that I think are interesting. Colorado, and I know we're coming up here on the clock here, but Colorado, we got another few seconds. I'll get into this next hour because we're already at 3:56. I'm going to break down some more cases in front of the Supreme Court later on in the show, but coming up at 4:04, we'll be talking to everybody's best friend, Dave Murray, next on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, we've got that. We consider this a Friday since tomorrow is a holiday, and that's what traffic is reflecting. So if you are leaving downtown, 6440 is slowing, approaching Hampton out through McCausland, but we've got a Friday jam out west, and that's just past Winghaven out through the 70 split. Now, 70 isn't bad out of downtown, a little slow at 141, but it's jamming from Highway A through Wentzville. We've got an accident reported southbound 270 headed down toward 70, and that's caused a delay. And if you are traveling on northbound 55, it's fine. Southbound, though, slowing at Bates. And we have an accident reported eastbound 44 near the 55 split, and that's a slow go, headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. Also, moderate volume. Southbound 170 headed for 64, and a little moderate volume westbound on the Poplar. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic, 97.1 FM Talk.
Is your home, business, or church looking tired, chalky, or in need of curb appeal? Go Rhino. Tired of painting year after year? Go Rhino. Our unique 3M ceramic technology is perfect for brick, stucco, aluminum, steel, color lock masonite, and more. It's backed by our 25-year transferable warranty to not chip, crack, or peel. Great if you're staying, and even better if you're selling. Our ceramic coating allows you to maintain all of your architectural features. The decision to do vinyl will leave your home looking like a plastic moldy box. With Rhino Shield, in 15 years, your home will still have that, wow, it looks like you just got it painted. We've done large condo complexes, parking garages, pole barns, and commercial strip malls. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. Evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
No paint, don't vinyl, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, with the holiday weekend coming up here, maybe you have a little bit more time and you have not downloaded the Underdog Fantasy app. This is a great time to do it. You can go yard all baseball season long with Underdog's Champions Game. The Cardinals and Cubs play this weekend. This is a great place to make all of your sports selections, and you can play in Missouri. Millions of fans have won billions making plays on Underdog. And with the Champions Game, all you got to do is download the app, choose whether a player is going to go higher or lower on a stat line. So you can choose from things like home runs, strikeouts, total bases, and a lot more. It's easy. It's fun. If your entry is correct, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. So, I'm not good at math, but you can turn $1 into 1,000 with just your baseball knowledge. But you got to get started by downloading the Underdog app. Sign up with this promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R, and that unlocks a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Again, the promo code is MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. Must be 18 plus and present in Missouri. Terms apply. See underdogfantasy.com/web/deposit-match-terms. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station. Gets his bill. I'm Lisa Brady. Republicans celebrating after the House gave final approval to the sweeping tax cut and spending plan they call the Big Beautiful Bill.
Wages will rise. I think household income will go up. I think the job participation rate will increase dramatically. I think unemployment will be low. We're going to duplicate what we did in the first Trump administration.
House Speaker Mike Johnson able to usher the package through a narrow majority after long meetings with Republican holdouts, including meetings with President Trump. Fox Business's Grady Trimble on Capitol Hill.
First and foremost, the Big Beautiful Bill staves off what Republicans have warned would be the biggest tax hike in American history by preserving the tax cuts that President Trump ushered in during his first term. And then on top of that, there are two new provisions that were key to President Trump's campaign promises that he made on the campaign trail. Those, of course, are no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime. This bill makes taxes on tips deductible up to $25,000 and on overtime deductible up to $12,500 for individuals and twice that for couples.
Democrats say that's not good enough and that Medicaid changes will strip away health care and food assistance. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling the bill immoral as he spoke against it for nearly 9 hours, setting a new House record.
Press on for democracy. We're going to press on until victory is won. I yield back.
Former President Biden posting that the bill is reckless and cruel. President Trump says it will launch an economic boom. He plans a signing ceremony tomorrow. One Republican House member is set to leave Congress. Tennessee Congressman Mark Green, who had previously said he would step down, has just made it official. Now that Big Beautiful Bill is done, his last day will be July 20th. America is listening to Fox News.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1225. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1225. That's 800-777-1225. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Thursday afternoon, lots of sunshine. Temperatures also up a couple of degrees. 93, certainly nothing extreme. Tonight, clear skies, 74 for the overnight low. Friday, 4th of July, sunny, hot, and humid. Maybe a pop thunderstorm in the afternoon, but tough to find. 95 degrees. Weather looks good. It's warm and humid for all the activities on Friday night. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Hey, it's Mark Cox, and between now and the end of summer, chances are you or someone you know is in the market to buy or sell a home. And like me, you probably know a few realtors. In fact, I know several. However, when I needed to sell my home, I made just one call to Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Yes, I'm an actual client. No matter what the market does, Gloria Lou will guarantee up front and in writing to sell your home at 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference.
St. Louis home sellers, if you're looking for certainty and the most money guaranteed for the sale of your home, call me, Gloria Liu. My name is My Promise, your home sold guaranteed realty. Call me directly at 314-325-6888 or visit me online at gloriahasthebuyers.com. That's gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in today, and glad you are with us on this holiday eve. I'm also glad to have Mr. Dave Murray, meteorologist extraordinaire, with us this afternoon. Hey, Dave.
Hello there. It seems like these 3-day holidays are becoming 4- and 5-day holidays to me.
Yes.
It seems like it started like Wednesday afternoon.
That's true. That's true. And I told my office staff today that they could bail out of work early, and a couple of them looked at me like, "Well, yeah, we were going to do that. We weren't really looking for your permission, Brad.
That's right.
We were going to do that anyway." So I'm like, "Well, yeah, my name's on the wall. I guess it doesn't mean anything." But one person who doesn't take off the holiday is you, my friend. So
That's true.
what are we looking at this weekend? This long weekend?
Classic summertime weekend. This evening is actually kind of nice. The humidity's been coming up a little bit today, but it's nothing extreme. 4th of July tomorrow is sunny. It's hot. It's humid. There might be an isolated thunderstorm in the afternoon, but I think those will be really hard to find. But we should get up to about 95 degrees, kind of classic St. Louis. For the evening Friday night, for all the fireworks shows, it's just warm and humid. 74 for the overnight low. Saturday, almost an instant replay of the 4th of July, right around 95 again. Sunday, to round out the holiday weekend, I'm going to call it partly sunny. I think there's a little better chance of a couple of spot afternoon thunderstorms on Sunday. Nothing widespread, and about 93 degrees. There's also a lot of interest about some tropical action since people are traveling this weekend right along the southeast coast from North Florida up through Cape Hatteras in North Carolina. Strong possibility of a tropical storm, even a hurricane, developing in the next 2 days or so. So kind of keep that in mind.
Isn't that a little different than normal? I mean, this is pretty early to be experiencing tropical storms and hurricanes, isn't it?
Well, the season starts June 1st, and it runs to the end of November. Yeah, July, occasionally we get one or two, and that would be about it. Occasionally is probably the key word there. The peak of the season is September, but we're getting there. The ocean temperatures are quite warm, so you start to get a contrast in the atmosphere, and you can get something to spin up. And this would be an in close. It's not something that's going to develop and travel across the Atlantic. This is kind of developing right in North Florida right now.
Got it. Well, Dave, I was at the Muni last night. Great show, and we were actually comfortable. I didn't think the humidity was very high, but what I'm hearing you saying though is even though I had a lovely time at the Muni last night, that the humidity is going to be picking up over the next few days.
Right, and I think you'll notice it going out the door when you leave the studio. That you're going to say, okay, yeah, it's starting to feel a little bit humid. Again, this evening should be fine for whatever plans you may have. But we just have to throw the word humid in. I don't think it's like a week ago kind of humidity, but we're going to notice it. It's most people will say, okay, yeah, it's 4th of July weekend. It's St. Louis. This is what it should be.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of folks forget, but the weather impacts our pets too, doesn't it, Dave?
Oh, yeah. Kind of double fold here because fireworks will affect a lot of pets. Really make sure that, if you have a dog or a cat who gets a little hyper with that, be aware and do a little extra care. But also the heat and humidity is tough on all pets. Lots of water, make sure they have fresh water supply. And also be aware that the asphalt, when it's time to take them out for a walk, use your hand and touch the asphalt because it's probably a lot hotter than you think it is. and that's what's affecting the dog or cat's feet, especially dogs who are going out for walks.
My prior black lab hated fireworks, so we gave her some calming chews. And then when that didn't work and she kept barking, I told my wife I was going to eat the chews. That's probably not recommended, is it?
I don't know.
What do you care? You're a meteorologist.
Yeah. I'm not a doctor, but that sounds like it could be fun.
Yeah, especially if you buy them at the CBD store. I mean, you never know, right?
Yeah.
Famed meteorologist Dave Murray. Thanks for talking to us today, Dave.
You got it. Happy 4th, everybody.
And happy 4th.
Thanks, Dave.
Happy 4th to you as well. One of the topics I'm going to get into, speaking of happy 4th, we don't have time in this segment, but before the show's over today, I want to talk about, is it still something to be patriotic? Are we as a country still proud to be Americans? And if so, why? Hey, we're gonna take a break here, and listen, we're gonna break to President Trump. He's talking about the spending bill passing. Here's President Trump.
Yeah, I think a few of them I did, but I think they would have gone yes anyway. What were the deals? No deals. What I did is we talked about how good the bill is. I mean, that's a deal, I guess, when you think about it. But obviously convinced them, but it was not hard. This is a great bill. This is going to be a great bill.
Mr. President, Congressman Ryan Fitzpatrick was one of you to vote no for the beautiful bill. Do you want to primary him too?
Well, I was disappointed that he did that. There were 2 of them that voted no, so I was disappointed that he voted no.
Mr. President, call with what your business today accomplished?
We had a call. It was a pretty long call. We talked about a lot of things, including Iran, and we also talked about, as you know, the war with Ukraine, and I'm not happy about that.
President Trump literally on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews talking about the passage of the big, beautiful bill. I'll actually be talking about the passage of the bill coming up in the 5 o'clock hour with Congressman Bob Onder, so you'll want to stick around for that. We're going to take a break here, and coming up next, the best part of the Mark Reardon Show. Sue's News, next on 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got another accident up north, and this one is eastbound 270 again, but this one is just past Old Halls Ferry. Now, they've got 1, 2, 3, at least the 3 right lanes blocked, only the 2 left lanes getting by. I just put this on X at Susan6768 if you want to see it. Ooh, maybe that's where you got Susan, Fred. Another thought. Now, if you are southbound on 55, it's a little slow at Bates. We've got northbound 55 slowing in the right lanes headed for the Poplar. And out west, 64 is a slow go. It's Highway N out through the 70 split. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. The closer you get to retirement, the more you start to think, okay, wait a minute, have I saved enough? Do I actually have a plan? I mean, if you don't have a financial plan that's written down, it's something you understand, it's a little bit scary to go into this stuff. This is why I love the idea that financial and tax architects have. They do a one-night, 2.5-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. And you learn in this class how to avoid costly mistakes, how to maximize your income, how to reduce taxes in retirement, and they specialize in tax-efficient retirement strategies. And at least you can learn how things work. So call them today and make an appointment for the next class. 314-888-5101 or visit fta-ria.com. That's 314-888-5101 and feel better about retirement.
People join Walk MS to raise awareness and funds that change the world for everyone affected by multiple sclerosis. MS attacks the brain and spinal cord. It's the most common neurological disease leading to disability in young adults. Walk MS brings communities together, creating teams with friends, loved ones, and coworkers to rally around those we care about and end MS forever. Join us. Together we are stronger. Walk MS fundraising accelerates research breakthroughs and life-changing breakthroughs. It will take all of our passion, determination, and fundraising to end MS forever. Together, we can change the world for people with MS. Join us. Register today, start a team, and raise funds at walkms.org.
Hey, what's up, flies? This is David Spade.
Dana Carvey.
Look, I know we never actually left, but I'll just say it. We are back with another season of Fly on the Wall.
Every episode, including ones with guests, will now be on video. Every Thursday, you'll hear us and see us chatting with big-name celebrities.
And every Monday, you're stuck with just me and Dana. We react to news, what's trending, viral clips.
Follow and listen to Fly on the Wall everywhere you get your podcasts.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young in today. I've just been leaving some comments on the YouTube channel. If you'd like to do the same, you can just go to youtube.com, put in Mark Reardon Show, leave some comments. I'm reading them all, and I am trying to participate during the commercial breaks. So joining us, of course, in studio, Hall of Famer Fred Bottomer. Good to see you, Fred.
Hey, Brad.
And Sue.
Hi.
It's been a busy day out there on the roads, hasn't it?
It's completely nuts because it's like a Friday.
It is like a Friday.
And,
But we're not doing the Reardonless Roundtable today.
No.
That's why we know it's not Friday.
It's like a traffic Friday, Brad.
It's a traffic Friday.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That is good to know. I want to go right now. Let's see. We already talked about President Trump talking from the tarmac, and it's interesting. We had a discussion off air. President Trump likes to wear a baseball cap when he's wearing his suit. I wear a lot of suits, don't typically wear caps, but then again, I'm not the president. But you know what it is time for now, of course.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
You know what? I forgot to look up what day it is, Fred. You know, it's National blah, blah Day.
Right.
So we'll just skip it.
Okay.
Because we're going to go to 40 years ago. That's right, people. 40 years ago. This movie was released. And I think after you hear this, you'll tell me what it is.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
That is correct.
Great Scott.
40 years ago.
40
Back to the Future was 40 years ago.
Wow. I was in college when that came out, and it doesn't seem like 40 years ago.
No, it doesn't.
But what a beloved movie. I've never met anyone that said, I don't like Back to the Future.
And just looking for clips of that today made me happy just to see what you can see when you're out there. Oh, thanks, Fred. By the way, it is National Chocolate Wafer Day. What? Why? National Eat Your Beans Day. I don't know what's happening there.
No.
And National Fried Clam Day. Now, if I am going to eat a clam, I would prefer for it to be cooked.
Oh, yeah.
Fried, but I'm not going to seek them out. Fred is not eating
I'm
a clam.
I'm a never clam guy.
Oh, really?
No.
Even like Long John Silver's when they got those clams,
No.
it's basically just
breaded
little fried
stuff.
breaded bits.
Yes.
No, I'm no clams.
No clams.
Yeah.
I like them fried,
No.
but not raw. No, I don't go for that.
He's made a statement. We all have to live by it. Fred is a no clam man.
No clam man.
Now, since it is, of course, almost the 4th of July, they put out a poll this week to find out what potato chips are the most popular for this specific holiday. Now, they say that actually number one for a side dish on the 4th of July is potato salad.
Yes.
And then it's potato chip. Now, in my house, it is opposite. Potato chip, and then further down, potato salad. I'm not doubling potatoes. Fred, what's happening at the Bodenheimer household?
I'm all potatoes all the time. I can do anything. But I'm, thinking about, does it make a difference on holidays like the 4th? What type of chip you use? I don't know.
Well, they say
I like Ripples.
Okay, that's what they say that most of America likes.
Oh, yeah.
Most of the country is not Ripples, but it's Ruffles, and I knew what you meant.
Right.
Most of the country is a fan of Ruffles, including almost all of the Rocky Mountains and much of the Midwest. Lay's are also big in 3 states. But another 3 states are obsessed with the ones that we have at my house. What do you have at your house, Brad?
Chips-wise?
Yes. For the 4th.
For the 4th, we will be having Ruffles.
Okay.
But my wife is in charge of all things social at my house. She says having potato salad and potato chips
it's too much.
Is redundant.
I completely agree with her. That's why we're only having chips. And we in Missouri and Ohio and Alabama all are obsessed with Pringles.
Yeah.
That's what will be at my house, not those nasty ones that Fred brought in.
But
we had regular.
What were they? Beer brought Pringles.
Yes.
Really? I've never heard of it. I'm guessing they weren't a winner.
Ethan, Mark, and I loved them.
Oh, really?
Sue did not.
I'll tell you what they tasted like, Brad. Chemicals.
Chemicals.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what they. And you know what? That's bad for the marketing department. Here, eat some
good.
chemical Pringles.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they
made
had
by Monsanto.
Beer can chicken that tasted like a can.
Yeah.
But I really like the regular Pringles, and I know they're not chips.
I know.
I know they're like,
extruded potato.
and kind of mashed into the shape that you can make duck lips out of, but that's what I like. All right, there is a story out today, I'm just on a food theme, that McDonald's is adding spicy McMuffins to its menu next Tuesday for a limited time. Now, it's a normal... This is so McDonald's. It's a normal breakfast McMuffin with their spicy pepper sauce on the top. It's the same sauce that comes on Spicy McCrispy, so they just shifted it to breakfast. But there are 3 versions: a spicy egg McMuffin, or I always say egg-a-muffin.
Yeah.
A spicy sausage McMuffin, which of all 3 of those is the best, in my opinion.
That sounds good.
And a spicy sausage McMuffin with egg. So that's coming out on Tuesday if you just kind of want to be spicy and go for that. And this brought me to the story of Chuck E. Cheese, who is opening a new chain of arcades for adults.
Why?
The first 10 Chuck's Arcades, which apparently sounds much more manly and adult, opening this week in malls across the U.S. They're basically just scaled-down versions of their normal restaurants, and each one has a mix of new games like Halo and old ones like Asteroids, and kids can go if they want to. They're trying to sell adult single angle in the press release, calling it a spin-off of modern-day love letter to games and people who made Chuck E. Cheese great. Did anyone make Chuck E. Cheese great?
I mean, I think that Chuck E. Cheese should be banned under the Geneva Convention as cruel and unusual punishment. Not that I have an opinion on it.
No, of course not. And they're going to have that horrible animatronic band on display.
How many small young children and babies have been scared to death by those animatronic monsters?
Many.
John raises his hand.
We have one in the room.
Absolutely.
Now, there's a story out today about a professor of civil engineering at Penn State who thinks we should ban left turns at more intersections around the country. He says they're more dangerous than most people realize. Around 40% of all crashes happen at intersections. 40%. And over 60% of those involve someone making a left. It's just ridiculous. You're not going to ban it.
No.
What were you going to say, Fred?
I was going to say, I know a person who does everything they can not to do a left turn.
Oh, wow.
Unless they have an arrow.
Do they just go
right?
Wow. Well, I guess those people know how to do it themselves. You can't ban it.
No. And at what point do you say, just take the darn risk? I mean, we don't wrap our heads in bubble wrap when we walk out of the house.
They say half of these involve serious injury. Another reason, green arrows, of course, make it safer. Maybe if you did more green arrows. But you can't ban left turns. It's just complete insanity. All right, this I thought was interesting. There is this new study out that found that some killer whales, actually, sorry, crowd, try to feed us. Now, there are at least 34 documented cases of orcas offering food to humans. Here is Jared Towers. He's a lead researcher at Bay Cetology, and he's talking about the behavior. It's very interesting, or at least I think.
Killer whales all around the world are occasionally offering people things that they've just recently killed. It's happened here to me in British Columbia. We have several cases from New Zealand and also in a few other parts of the world as well. And what we think is that because killer whales share their food so often with other killer whales, that this is really a way of practicing learned cultural behavior and also exploring the capacity of people to engage in reciprocity.
So they'll see if you give them something back. It's just very interesting.
Yeah.
This is not something that I knew existed or happened.
No. So an orca swims up to you and offers you a half-eaten seal?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, sure. Hey,
thanks.
can I have that with some dip on it?
Pringle. You give them a Pringle back.
A Pringle.
Well, not if you want them to respect you, Fred.
Oh, okay.
Certainly not the other kind, the brats. But I just found that really interesting. And that, it's like dogs that do that. If they hunt something, or cats, they'll bring them to you and drop it and say, here you go.
Yeah, and then they want a treat or pet them on the head. My friend had a full standard poodle that would bring him birds, gophers, moles, and just pile them up outside in the backyard, saying, "Look at me, I'm the great hunter."
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that whales had done that as well. We had
Did not know that.
elk hound that used to hunt groundhogs and bring them back and drop them off, and he was very proud of himself.
Oh,
and
of
we were all
course.
just disgusted, but it's sweet. All right, the Hollywood Walk of Fame class of 2026 was announced yesterday. There's a total of 35 who were selected. This is by independent committee. The TV category gets Sarah Michelle Gellar, Gordon Ramsay, Melody Thomas Scott. And if you go, what? She's from The Young and Restless. And Noah Wiley. There will be a double ceremony for Good Morning America because George Stephanopoulos and Robin Roberts are going in. Motion picture category, Demi Moore, Emily Blunt, Chris Columbus, Rami Malek, Rachel McAdams, Keith David. They've got all kinds of people. And then only one for sports entertainment category, Shaq. Shaq is highly entertaining to me.
I don't know, Sue, if you know who Keith David is.
Who is Keith David?
You've seen him. You just don't know it. He's a character actor.
Okay.
He's been in hundreds of movies.
Like, give me one.
He was, oh gosh.
Can you look that up, Fred?
He was in, he oftentimes plays military generals.
Oh.
He's black. He's got a great voice. He's got a commanding voice, and also I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Oh, I got it.
And he narrates a ton of audiobooks.
He's awesome.
But he's a character actor, so you don't really think about stuff that he does. But once you know who he is, you're like, oh, I've seen him in hundreds of movies.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't realize who he was. By the way, Miley Cyrus is going in, Lyle Lovett, Stanley Tucci. It's all kinds of people who are going in. Ooh, I like him now. Thank you, Keith David, now that I know who he is. And finally, in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. Antarctica now gets about 123,000 tourists a year. That's up from only 5,000 in 1990.
Oh, my goodness.
People are going to, I have zero, Iceland is cool to go to, but I had no idea they were going to Antarctica.
Yeah, just go to Minneapolis in January. It's close enough. It's close enough.
And that's it for Sue's News.
Best part of the Mark Reardon Show. Hey, coming up next, we've got the Fox Business Your Money Now coming up next on the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in 97.1 FM Talk.
Robinson with Your Money Now. The House of Representatives today passing President Donald Trump's massive tax and spending bill. The final vote was 218 to 214, with two Republicans, Thomas Massie and Brian Fitzpatrick, voting against it alongside all of the chamber's Democrats. The bill now heads to Trump's desk for signature. Shares of TripAdvisor jumping 17% today after Starboard Value revealed a more than 9% stake in the online travel company, according to a securities filing. The position was valued at roughly $160 million as of yesterday's close. TripAdvisor shares have been flat this year after losing more than 30% in 2024. Stocks were higher today on Wall Street, with the Dow up 344 points and the Nasdaq gaining more than 200. Crude oil futures for August are down slightly, sitting above $67 a barrel. That's your money now.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
With curbside pickup and delivery available, you'll always find what you love, only at Total Wine & More.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
97.1 FM Talk is proud to support the first ever Brendan Donovan Charity Clay Shoot happening Thursday, August 7th at Strathelman Farms Club in Weldon Spring. Join Cardinals standout Brendan Donovan, teammates, and local celebs for a day of clay shooting and community, all to benefit Team Red, White, and Blue and their mission to support veterans' health and wellness. Don't wait. Sponsorships and shooter spots are going fast. Visit teamrwb.org/Donovan now to sign up. Show your support and make a difference for those who've served. 97.1 FM Talk, backing our veterans every step of the way.
Hi, I'm your kid's old jeans. I've been in the drawer for a while and really missed the playground. You should swing by Goodwill and drop me off. Donating me helps Goodwill's mission to provide career training and support services right here in the community. Plus, I can get back into the game. Donate today. Tag, you're it.
To find your nearest Goodwill locations and to learn more about our mission, please visit goodwill.org. Goodwill, where your things start new lives.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
It's 4:32 on 97.1 FM Talk. Time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
Rain can be a big headache if you have a leaky basement. Mark Cox here for Home Shield Foundation Repairs. This is a local family-owned company. Matt Hayes will come to your house and let the basement speak for itself, and he promises to match the solution to the issues and not upsell you on stuff that's not needed. They can do waterproofing, they can do crack repair, sump pump replacement, and even fix bowing and leaning walls with a lifetime warranty. Go to their website today. It's homeshieldfoundationrepairs.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to The Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young in on a lovely Thursday, but a traffic Friday, as Sue
That's
has
exactly right.
dubbed it. Great Thursday, traffic Friday.
Yep.
And thanks for hanging out with us. And I watch a lot of movies. I love the theater experience. I even went to see movies in the theater during COVID because I'm like, nobody's here anyway. I might as well go and enjoy it. Had a great time. And so I always love talking to Paul Hall. You know Paul, Common Guys Film Reviews, found at commonguy.com. Paul, great to talk to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Brad. Now, we talked a couple weeks ago now, didn't we? And I gave people this neat little tip on where to go that Monday afterwards, didn't we?
Yes, you did. You gave some very good inside information.
If I, it turns out I was right. And the first thing I want to talk about this week is Jurassic World Rebirth, which, if you listened to me a couple weeks ago when Brad and I talked, you saw it for cheap the Monday right after we talked. But for those of you who didn't, it's in theaters now.
I didn't, but whenever I walk in, I look a lot older than I am, and theaters always give me the senior discount, even though I don't qualify. But I always figure if they're going to give it to me, I say yes. But we have we have this sound from Jurassic World.
Dr. Henry Loomis, this is Zora Bennett, our mission specialist.
Sorry, what mission?
Can you be ready tomorrow?
I can guarantee your safety. I mean, more or less.
More or less?
No one's dumb enough to go where we're going.
This island was the research facility for the original Jurassic Park.
We need DNA from the 3 biggest dinosaurs. Do we have to get a sample from an egg?
I suppose we could try and get it from the parent, but they're a flying carnivore the size of an F-16. Maybe we should make it quick.
So, Paul, tell us, is this a standalone movie, or are we looking at a setup for another trilogy?
No, it's Rebirth. Come on, Brad, it's Rebirth. We're doing it again. We're going again. I don't know how many of these will last through this next go around. You never know when that moment comes where something, jump the shark, shall we say? But we
jump
get
jump the megalodon. If we're talking about jump the megalodon.
I am bad with my puns. I'm kind of missing this off the bat. What the heck? It's for Thursday instead of Friday. Cats and dogs living together. It's just one of those things. But I'll tell you what. Jurassic World Rebirth is everything that we've come to love in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies as far as the dinosaurs, the visuals. They are amazing throughout. Now, there's a but. Of course there's a but.
Of course.
It just doesn't – it's okay. It's just okay.
Yeah.
You come to expect and want to see cool dinosaurs running through jungles and water and cool action sequences. You get most of that here, but so much of this plot line to me goes off the rails that you find yourself laughing at some things that you probably shouldn't have. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think if we had a little bit more cohesiveness through the story, I might be in the love stage because you've got Mahershala Ali along with Scarlett Johansson, and the two of them together work really well as two of the main leads in this one. I like that. The bad guys are bad. You don't want them to do anything to succeed. You are surprised certain people make it to the end and other people don't. Let's just say that. Of course, it's a Jurassic Park, Jurassic World movie here. Some people, the dinosaurs get lunch with. Some people, they have lunch of, whatever that may be. So it's in theaters now. It's rated PG-13. It does have some violent moments. If you like the Jurassic movies, you got to go out and see it on the biggest screen possible because there's nothing better than that giant dinosaur growling in your ear as you're sitting up high in a good theater.
Well, Paul, I got to tell you, whenever I watch it, we watch it frequently at the Young household. The first Jurassic Park movie, I always have to close my eyes when the lawyer gets eaten. That's the part that I just can't see that. I close my eyes, and of course, my kids love it when the lawyer gets eaten, as I'm an attorney. But I read one review, and the one review criticized it because they said the review was it focuses too much on dinosaurs chasing people, and I thought, what were you expecting, Shakespeare? I mean, it's Jurassic World, right? But every movie has to have a strong plot, and that's what I'm hearing you saying. This movie lacks a little bit in the plot department.
Yeah, it does. And as far as dinosaurs chasing people, I mean, come on, we've had how many movies now? That's pretty much what we've seen over the course of the Jurassic films. It's like the day I went to the screening of American Pie 2 years ago, and I saw some people walk out after the first 15 minutes in a sold-out screening. They were upset because the language was pretty fierce. It was American Pie 2. By the time there's a sequel, you need to know what's in these movies.
Of course. But you've got some other movies, because I will be seeing, I don't care what the reviews are, I'm going to be seeing Jurassic World, and I'll be seeing it very soon. But there's something else that I didn't know much about. Heads of State, and it sounds like this.
I hate to interrupt a kick-off slow-mo explosion, but we should probably introduce who's who in the burning vehicle. That's UK's Prime Minister, a.k.a. the President of England, Sam Clark, US President / action movie star Will Derringer, and MI6's top agent, Noel Basset. 24 hours ago, somebody shot down Air Force One over unfriendly territory. And these two made it out. Now, they'll embark on a breathtaking adventure.
Endurance is tough for guys like you. Guys like me. Guys like you. You know, Jim Strong. As opposed to Strong. You want to see Jim Strong? I'll rip a tree out of the ground and beat you to death with it, huh? Go on then. Rip that tree out and beat me to death with it. So I thought, pick the biggest tree.
Obviously, they're going to need a little help.
So tell us, this wasn't on my radar, Paul, until like yesterday, but it sounds intriguing. Tell us about Heads of State.
Put it on your radar right now, Brad. This is a fun movie. It's you bring two heads of state, the UK's, the US together. We've got Idris Elba. Come on,
love it.
I'll watch him do anything.
And John Cena as the and you know what? As much as people like or dislike Cena, Cena's got carving out a nice little acting career in his type of roles. And the two of them, he's the U.S. president and the UK prime minister. Yeah, it's kind of a hackneyed way to get together, but basically they get shot out of the sky, and there are some people behind the scenes that want to get rid of them so they can it's all about NATO, and it's about leaving NATO or joining NATO or either of the above. You have to see the movie. I'm not going to give you everything, but quite frankly, this is a lot of fun for an action movie that is not in theaters. It's coming to you straight on Prime Video, and you get a chance to watch it in your own home. This is something you could see as a summer movie release. There's lots of action. There's lots of good chemistry between Idris and John here, and Priyanka Chopra Jonas plays the spy, secret agent. She is a special actress ever since before she met and became a Jonas. She's been a special actress to date. I like this one, and I like it from the standpoint of it's a type of movie you've seen before, but it's done in just a different way. And just like Jurassic World, too, there are people that don't make it to the end of this movie, and they're not all people you might expect. Stephen Root, Patty Considine, Carla Gugino, and even Jack Quaid are along for the ride here. It's a fun action thriller that you can do. You would definitely not be bored for 2 hours watching it on Prime Video.
Well, I find it an interesting category, the action thriller comedy, because one of my favorite movies of all time, of course, is Die Hard. And yet, Die Hard is funny in moments, but I see Hollywood now trying to blend in more comedy with the action, and this is a recipe that can work, isn't it, Paul?
It is, and it's because the two work very well together. There are moments when you do an action film that you can't take yourself so seriously that you forget the fact that you're trying to blow everything up in its way on screen. And sometimes that in and of itself gives you a little chuckle when you think about it. And it's definitely fits in that category too, where don't think real hard about it. Just go enjoy it. Go watch it. Have a good time with it. And that and Jurassic, I think both of them for their audiences are two really nice films out there this week.
Well, this seems like a pretty big budget type movie for just going straight to Prime.
Yeah, it does. They pull it off very well. It's from MGM UA, who Amazon will be having a lot of their titles as we go through the year. They've committed to release a lot of these things in theaters to start with going forward. So you're going to see these in theaters going forward. It's just kind of we're coming out of, we're still, even 5 years later, we're coming out of COVID and people kind of feeling their way in the new way of film.
Paul Hall, Common Guys Film Reviews. Paul, if folks want to check out your reviews on these and other movies, how can they find you?
All over social media, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. And, of course, commonguy.com. And it's lots of good stuff. We'll have more. Brad, there's another mystery movie coming up at the end of July. I have a sneaking suspicion I know that one, too. But I need to examine it a little more before I commit to what's out there. I can tell you, last time we gave it away, Brad, the theaters were packed. So people saw my vision on that one.
Well, your batting average right now is 1,000, my friend. So that's pretty good. Paul Hall, great to talk to you again, my friend.
Take care, Sue. Take care as well.
See ya, Paul.
Hey, coming up after the break, we're going to talk to, Frank Cusimano, sports director, KSDK Channel 5. We'll be talking to him about the Cardinals opening up against the Cubs. Maybe the Cardinals can eat their Wheaties this time because they couldn't beat the Pirates. Let's see if they do better against the Cubs. Also, St. Louis Blues add some new players. We're going to talk soccer. We're going to talk World Cup. All of this and more next. Brad Young in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
The Mark Reardon Show
on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident reported southbound 270 just before 55. And it's the left lanes that are blocked here. If you are traveling on southbound 270, right now they've got all lanes blocked. So there is a jam starting to build on southbound 270. It hasn't gone back to gravel yet, but this involves a bus, it looks like to me, and other vehicles. This could be here a while. Again, this is an accident southbound 270 north of 55. I will put it on X here in a minute at Susan6768. Now, if you are westbound on 70 out of downtown, it's a slow go at Jennings Station Road. And out west, it slows near Highway A through Wentzville. 64 lines up Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. No delays on 64 headed for or crossing the Poplar Street Bridge, but 55 is slowing in the right lanes. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Stop everything you're doing right now and ask yourself, are you currently receiving steady paychecks? What about when you're retired? Will you receive a monthly check to cover your expenses and also have some fun? Marvin Mitchell and the team at Compass Retirement Solutions calls this mailbox money. It's a monthly check you'll receive throughout retirement. They don't want you to worry about if the money will show up or how much money you'll receive. The only thing they want you to think about is how to spend it when it arrives. Find out how to get enough money in your mailbox every month when you're retired. Call Marvin Mitchell and the Compass Retirement Solutions team at 314-373-1598 to start working on a plan that can help you create the monthly income you'll need in retirement. Call 314-373-1598 right now and schedule a visit with Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services, investments, and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory in Missouri and Illinois.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
No matter what you're doing for July 4th, allow us to enhance your experience with music for fireworks. This is Ryan Wiggins from Wiggins America and the Andy Fry Show. This is the 5th annual Music for Fireworks starting at 8, and we will be the soundtrack to your evening.
The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young in today on what seems like a Friday, certainly a traffic Friday, but Thursday here coming up on the 4th of July weekend. Welcoming back to the show, Frank Cusimano, KSDK Sports Director. Hey, Frank.
Brad, great to be with you. Hope you're well, sir.
I am well and doing great, sir. Thank you. Who has not been doing great, though? The Cardinals just couldn't pull it together against Pittsburgh recently. Now we're going into a series against the Cubs. What's your take on the new Cubs card series in Wrigley this weekend?
Well, let's go over Pittsburgh for just a moment. It is unbelievable, Brad, because like at 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, the Cardinals had just swept the Cleveland Guardians for the first time in history. You couldn't have felt better about this squad. They were 9 games over 500 for the first time all season. And then Pittsburgh happens. For the first time in 49 years, in Pittsburgh, they're shut out for an entire series. They've now gone 49 consecutive innings without scoring a run against teams from the National League Central, which is flabbergasting. But this team is a little bit like your son's favorite ride at Six Flags. It's a roller coaster. So many highs, so many lows. And if somebody told me before the season that they would be 6 games over 500 heading into Chicago for 4th of July weekend, I'd say I'd take it in a heartbeat. So we'll see what happens. It wouldn't shock me if this team goes to Chicago and plays pretty well. I do think, in addition to their offensive woes, they've had some pitching issues. Brett, let me give you a great stat, is that pitchers 3 through 5, we're talking Fedde, Michaelis, Palante, they have 1 win in their last 23 combined starts. Now, wins are not the end-all because Palante actually pitched well and lost the other night, but you got to get some better production out of 3 through 5.
That's true, because we've also had a lot of games this year where the starting pitching was a little rough. They got roughed up early, but then came back in later innings. We have had a lot of that this year. I've seen it. I'm a season ticket holder, and of course, I watch Channel 5 every night when I can't catch the game to watch the recap. But going into Chicago, obviously 2 concerns. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out: hitting and pitching. How do we look on what's the matchups for this weekend? Who's pitching for the Cardinals?
Well, Cardinal-wise, Fedde's supposed to start on Sunday. I wonder if they will bring up McGreevy for that start, because Fedde has just been brutal lately. I mean, his last 9 starts, he has no victories. His last 2 starts, he's just been rocked. So he's scheduled to go. You'll get Libator in there, and Matthew has been pitching great lately. And then Michaelis in Wrigley Field does seem like a scary proposition for the Cardinals. It's a shame they're going there without their best offensive player. I don't think enough people talk about this enough. Ivan Herrera is just a dynamic offensive player. He's going to be a star here for years to come, but he's got that hamstring issue, so he's not playing this weekend. That's a big blow. So we'll see what happens in Chicago. The Cubs really have an outstanding offense, too. So we'll see.
Yeah, I've been looking at the standings. Of course, the Cardinals right now are 5 games out, sitting in 3rd place right behind the Brewers. And I'm hoping that if we could do well against the Cubs, we'll make up some of that ground.
Yeah. But I got to say this, too, is they're going to play the Padres in the near future. And as we speak right now, if the playoffs were to start, the Padres would get in because their winning percentage is 1 point higher. So you'd like to catch the Cubs, you'd like to catch the Brewers, but the object is to get into the postseason dance, and you're right there with the Padres. So those games coming up with San Diego are going to be loom large, I believe.
Well, I'm not a big soccer guy, but I love what I saw and heard from the Guatemala game last night. It seemed like the entire country of Guatemala was packed into our stadium to watch U.S. versus Guatemala last night.
96, trying to become the lowest ranked team in FIFA's rankings ever to play in a final. It's a great move to cut inside. Ordonez, a chance now, and it's a goal. It's Escobar.
I mean, that's the kind of crowd noise, the cheering that you hear in the Mike Bush household when it comes to pay raises. I mean, it was just deafening.
Good line there, Brad. By the way, I didn't realize you were a season ticket holder. I didn't know you were from Old Money. You learn something new every day. But anyway, about the game, Mark Mosier, Hall of Fame soccer player here in St. Louis, he told me this morning he felt that was the loudest roar he had ever heard at Energizer Park. And keep in mind, when City SC was really good, that place was rocking. I got a call about like 3 o'clock in the middle of the day from a City SC executive, and he said, you got to get downtown. You got to see what's going on outside the stadium. It was unbelievable. All those light blue Guatemalan jerseys. And I got to tell you, the game sold out in 24 hours after the United States won in penalty kicks on Sunday, and it was just an electric atmosphere. I don't think we have that many Guatemalans living in St. Louis. I think a lot of them came from out of town.
Well, it was stunning just to hear and to see and to feel that level of excitement, because we certainly haven't seen that level of excitement at Busch Stadium this year. And it was great to see that, even if it had to be flown in from Guatemala. But where we have seen some action, of course, is with the Blues. The Blues got some new players recently.
Yeah. Doug Armstrong, I think I can use the word, has large kahunas. Because if any other, hockey general manager would have traded a 22-year-old like Zach Bolduc, coming off a 19-goal season where he got better every week as the season evolved and looks like a star, traded him for a guy who only has 9 or 8 games on his NHL resume, that president or that GM would have been barbecued. But in Doug, we trust. He's one of the smartest executives we've ever had in St. Louis professional sports.
Yes.
And this Logan Mailloux that he picked up may be exactly what the doctor ordered. And a lot of it comes down to supply and demand, because we had a surplus of young scoring forwards and a shortage of young, outstanding defensemen. And Logan Mailloux hopefully will be that guy. I got to tell you something, Brad, real quick. A long time ago, the Blues traded a really promising forward named Brendan Shanahan. How can you trade Brendan Shanahan? Well, they got in return a guy by the name of Chris Pronger. Everybody hated the trade, and Pronger became arguably our best defenseman of all time. I don't think Mailloux's Pronger, but I think he's going to be good.
Very good. Frank Cusimano, KSTK Sports Director. Great to talk to you, Frank.
Good to be with you, Brad. Have a great 4th.
And you too as well, my friend. Hey, we're coming up on a hard break. We've got to get out of here. But coming up, I've got a lot more stuff, legal stuff I want to break down for you right here. Brad Young filling in for Mark Reardon, 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Southbound 270 is closed right now, completely shut down north of 55 because of an accident. Looks like a bus was involved. We've got a fire truck on the scene, ambulances, and traffic is just stacking up behind it. Now, currently, they're working to get everything off on the shoulder, and a fire truck is starting to move, so hopefully they will have a lane open here soon. But in the meantime, we have a parking lot jam that goes back through Gravois. Again, major accident southbound 270 north of 55. That's the worst of it tonight. We've got a little bit of volume on northbound 55 headed for the Poplar, and out west 64 and 70 both line up near Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through the 70 split. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
The fighting spirit of the Marine Corps is born of battles won. Battles won within, over enemies of fear, enemies of doubt. It's who we are. It's what we do. It's a promise made to you for more than 2 centuries. A promise of the Marines.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin deficiencies. Now they're offering specialty cardiovascular testing and even early detection cancer screening. Visit them at one of their 4 great locations, now in Sunset Hills, Town and Country, O'Fallon, Missouri, and O'Fallon, Illinois. Tell them Mark Cox sent you. Go to victorymenshealth.com.
How about all text? You focus on the road.
As a passenger, you have the power to prevent an accident. There are 1,000 ways to stop a distracted driver. Choose one.
A message from CTIA.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
He says it will be a celebration. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump now aboard Air Force One as he heads to a rally in Des Moines, Iowa, hours after the House passage of his tax cut and spending package. He says it's the biggest bill of its kind.
Biggest tax cut in history, great for security, great on the southern border.
The president said he will sign the measure at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Ahead of the House vote, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries gave an impassioned speech warning of what Democrats say are the dangers of the bill.
Medicare could be cut by more than $500 billion, and these earned benefits of the American people could be jeopardized.
The president and other Republicans say Medicaid will not be impacted, and they're focused on what they call wasteful spending. President Trump says his administration would start sending letters to countries probably tomorrow to identify the tariff rates they would face on imports to the U.S. Marines based in North Carolina will be heading to Florida to support ICE enforcement efforts.
The approximately 200 Marines from Air Station New River in North Carolina will be working with Immigration and Customs Enforcement to help manage locations and handle logistics in Florida. This was part of a Homeland Security request in May for as many as 700 troops, active, reserve, and National Guard, that was approved by Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The New River troops are the first from the U.S. Northern Command, which is responsible for North America, Alaska, the Bahamas, and their waterways. While they will support ICE efforts, these troops will not be allowed to engage directly with detainees or their capture.
Fox's Gernal Scott. Wall Street, a shorter day of trading. The Dow added 344. The Nasdaq gained 207. America's listening to Fox News.
Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-777-1225. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-777-1225. That's 800-777-1225. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Thursday afternoon, lots of sunshine. Temperatures also up a couple of degrees. 93, certainly nothing extreme. Tonight, clear skies, 74 for the overnight low. Friday, 4th of July, sunny, hot, and humid. Maybe a pop thunderstorm in the afternoon, but tough to find. 95 degrees. Weather looks good. It's warm and humid for all the activities on Friday night. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young hanging out with you today. Mark should be back very soon, so thanks for letting me hang out with you, and glad you're listening to 97.1 FM Talk. One of the things that's been a big news this week, or one of the big items in the news, I should say, has been the CBS settlement with President Trump. So I wanted to get the details, so I reached out to Nick Fondacaro. You know Nick. He is the Newsbusters Associate Editor. Nick, thanks for joining us here in St. Louis today.
Thanks for having me on to hang out with you, Brad.
So tell me a little bit about the terms of the settlement. Generally speaking, in my law practice during the day, I know that that suing someone like the media or suing for defamation from the media is oftentimes legally challenging and difficult, yet President Trump has prevailed here. Tell us what the settlement terms are.
So basically, it's about $16 million up front with a possibility of it reaching upwards of $30 million after including money spent on advertisement, public service announcements, and some other support for conservative causes from the network in the future. But it's $16 million up front. I believe some of it goes to cover his President Trump's legal fees, and then the rest of it goes to the presidential library.
Right. So President Trump himself isn't really going to pocket a penny from this settlement.
None at all.
And one of the terms that I thought was very interesting, Nick, and I'd like your opinion on it and to see how things go forward. But obviously, when we deal with the mainstream media, they're biased. They want to take every slant and angle against conservatives or Republicans or Christians that they possibly can. And yet, I believe that Paramount agreed that in all future interviews with eligible U.S. presidential candidates, that 60 Minutes will release the full transcript, the full unedited transcript of those interviews.
Exactly. That is one of the big terms of this agreement here. And it's worth noting that this whole case could have been avoided if CBS would have just released the full unedited transcript from the beginning, but they refused to do it, their interview with Kamala Harris. And people need to question why they held on this long, and they took it all the way until someone in the government to force them to bring out the full unedited transcript. First, that got released online, and then CBS had to come do it themselves. And people have to ask themselves why. And it's because CBS wants to defend the Democratic ticket by making them look good.
Yeah, isn't that interesting that they literally had to pay $20 or $16 million, maybe as high as $30 million, depending on what other expenses might be coming into the settlement terms, but had to pay all this money, and they did so just to protect and to not release the transcript of Vice President Word Salad, and they took this position when they could have just released it to begin with.
Exactly. This whole thing could have been avoided, and now what you're seeing is a lot of words coming out from anonymous sources from inside CBS, from their journals, who are very upset that they caved in this way, and now they have to make this change. But it's like, why are they upset? Because they want to be able to run defense for the Democrats, and now this is going to be able to expose them for when they do cut out certain rambling moments, or if a candidate sort of gets off message and they kind of want to stitch it up for them a little bit.
Yeah, there's been a lot of staffers who have been vocal, sometimes anonymous, sometimes not so anonymous, but the staffers have been very vocal in opposition to this settlement, haven't they?
Exactly. And a lot of it goes because they don't want any of the people to see what goes on behind the scenes. They don't want to see the sausage get made. And that's why you saw this case get settled and a lot of other cases get settled before even discovery happens. Because as we saw with the CNN defamation suit, that the trial that just wrapped up earlier this year, where CNN lost, and MSNBC settlement back in April, that we get a peek behind the scenes to see their internal messages via discovery. And that's when it gets exposed how their coverage is driven by their personal animosities and affinities towards their political narratives and who they are talking about in the news.
Yeah, we had I don't know if you recall, but St. Louis sued the Rams and the NFL several years ago, and that case settled for $750 million on the eve of trial, right before trial started. But really, what forced the settlement was that the NFL owners didn't want to have their internal emails and text messages released for open public consumption at trial. And I thought the same thing was probably applying here, that if this case went to trial, you would see emails showing just how vitriolic and biased all of these CBS staffers are, all of these 60-minute staffers, and all of that would have been laid bare had this case proceeded to trial.
Yeah, I believe the CBS case didn't even make it to discovery, because if you get information discovery, there are chances that it could leak. There could be a problem with the clerk system where inadvertently information gets released. That's how I got some of the information from the CBS defamation trial, is because the clerk's office had a little bit of a hiccup when they were putting up documents and stuff wasn't redacted properly. And we were able to get some of CNN's internal messages out there and some deposition testimony where a CNN employee admitted that when they reported about Zachary Young, the guy they defamed, they said they didn't actually have any proof that he committed any sort of crime.
Oh, yeah. Getting a peek under the skirt of the mainstream media really reveals the bias that so much of conservatives we know, but so much of mainstream America seems to not understand. But here's the question I want to go to next. We're talking to Nick Fondacaro. He's the Newsbusters associate editor. And Nick, back in 1964, there was this landmark Supreme Court case called New York Times versus Sullivan. You know the case. And in New York Times versus Sullivan, it really shaped the legal landscape for lawsuits dealing with defamation when it comes to public officials. And it showed legally what had to be proved, which in this case was an actual malice standard, meaning that the statements were literally made with the knowledge that these statements were false. I'm only giving that as an explanation, Nick, to say this. As groundbreaking as the New York Times versus Sullivan was on the legal landscape, do you see not just the 60 Minutes settlement, but the MSNBC settlement and the other settlements that are probably going to happen in the near future? Do you see these as reshaping the landscape moving forward when it comes to the way the mainstream media wants to slant the news against President Trump?
Oh, absolutely, because I have a feeling that the previous ABC defamation suit had maybe something to do with the Terry Moran situation with him getting fired.
Yes.
Because if those messages are what he was willing to say out loud in public, his posts on X, imagine what he's saying in private messages. And then those can absolutely come into case of actual malice and be able to be there. So that's why they fired him, so he's not a liability for them. And hopefully what we're starting to see is that these executives are going to be putting more of a scrutiny on their newsrooms to be like, you guys are not being objective. You guys are not being dispassionate. You are very passionate, and you're just going to say these things, and you're going to get us in a lot of trouble. You're going to cost us a lot of money. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these cases that are coming up, is not even these networks saying things about public officials. Like the CNN case, this was a private individual, a Navy veteran who was trying to help people get out of Afghanistan. And in the MSNBC case, it was just a doctor who had some contracts with immigration officials, and that they were running around claiming that he was the uterus collector, essentially defaming him. And that case got settled before it went to trial. But this is all of these things that we're seeing now, and it's private individuals who are really stepping up to hold these places accountable. We saw this a few years ago with Nick Sandmann And then Kyle Rittenhouse has said that he's interested in going after some people. I'm not too sure he's pushed anything yet, but we also have Zachary Young. I got out of a defamation hearing case today. He's going after the AP, Puck News, U.S. News and World Report for other sort of fallout reporting about the CNN defamation case, where they were a little bit loose allegedly with some of the facts of his case and sort of smearing the trial a little bit. So.
We're talking to Nick Fondacaro. He's with Newsbusters. He's an associate editor there. And Nick, I'm going to ask you to speculate on something. We didn't really talk about this ahead of time, but whenever I see this pattern of conduct where mainstream media, news editors, and producers reveal their vitriolic bias in emails and text messages, and then that becomes litigation fodder to show actual malice. Do you think that some of these media types, the producers and executives at the networks, do you think they might be inclined to want to start using Snapchat or WhatsApp or Signal or Wicker or any of these apps that allow messages to be either encrypted or destroyed just to keep, because we know they're always going to be vitriolic against conservatives and Christians and Republicans, but do you think they might start wanting to use these more secretive apps in order to make sure that their email messages don't become litigation fodder?
Yeah, they already do. Signal is a very big app used by journalists to speak with sources. WhatsApp as well. These are very common apps that are used in media to speak with sources. I believe the ones that were being used in the CNN one in particular, I believe was their internal Slack message system, which that's more of a workflow sort of place where you have different teams sort of talking to each other. I'm not too sure if they have the ability to delete stuff. They probably do. But for the most part, it might come out if they start doing those things that, hey, it might get leaked to be like, oh, hey, why don't you want people to ever see what it is you're saying? And it definitely becomes, when you do see these messages, they are extremely revealing and expose their hatred. Like with the CNN case, you had editors egging on Marquardt saying, go get him, cowboy, and saying to him, like, oh, Mr. Young has a punchable face, and all of this stuff where in their private messages, they show the actual and expressed malice.
Wow. Well, I if that happens, I will find this fascinating because of the way the news media beat up Pete Hegseth for using Signal app. I would be thrilled to point out the hypocrisy if they start using similar types of apps. Nick Fondacaro, Newsbusters Associate Editor, where can folks find you online if they want to follow what you and Newsbusters writes about?
They can follow us at newsbusters.org.
Very good, Nick. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Great to talk to you, sir. Hey, when we come back from this break, I did some research today, and I looked into some of the quotes from the new mayoral candidate in New York, Mamdani, Zohran Mamdani, and I found some interesting quotes because to me this is staggeringly concerning that the largest city in the country, the financial center of the planet, is perhaps on the precipice of electing a socialist to be the next mayor. We'll cover that next. Brad Young sitting in for Mark Reardon. Stick around. We'll be back on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Mark Reardon Show
on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got lanes blocked in both directions now, southbound and northbound 270, just north of 55. And the right lanes are blocked southbound. That's where the original accident was. The two right lanes there. Then they closed down the northbound lanes. Now the northbound lanes are open with the exception of the two right ones. So we just have a parking lot jam in both directions. Northbound is jammed back onto 55, and we've got southbound jammed. Gosh, it's near 44. So it's just a mess through there, and that's put extra volume, especially southbound on Lindbergh in that area. Now, that's the worst of it. Northbound 55, a little slow, headed for the Poplar, and out west, 6440 is lining up at Highway A out through Wentzville. 64 is more like Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through their split. We are fine on the bridges downtown. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, bathrooms, outdoor spaces. They deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, I love Thomas Helbig and the team at the Retirement Advisor Group. I've got a chance to know them over the years, and you should get to know them as well, especially if you're, well, look, if you're on the cusp of retirement, if you're already retired, if you're even far away from retirement. It's always very interesting when we have these seminars with the team. Annie and Mark Cox and I, we all go up there and meet and greet and say hi, and then we do an introduction for Thomas. And Annie's in a completely different spot than Mark and I because we're a little bit closer, safe to say, hopefully, to retirement. But if you're worrying about how long your money's going to last, for good reason, because the stock market goes up and down, inflation ticks away at your money that you've saved for all these years, let the Retirement Advisor Group build your own personalized structured income plan. And you can go in for free and test the waters with the team. I've always said this. Maybe you have a connection with Thomas and his nephew, Bob Kershaw, and Bob's wife, Tammy. Maybe you don't, but you have nothing to lose because it is a free retirement review. You get a copy of their latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement, and then you decide. They've been helping clients retire with confidence for decades upon decades. They can help you as well. RetirementKey.com to get started today. Tell them that we sent you along from 97.1 FM Talk. RetirementKey.com.
Roof over your head is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They're in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
On 97.1 FM Talk. Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com.
Brad Young in for Mark Reardon today. And of course, it was a stunning New York City election outcome when it looks like Zohran Mamdani came out on top on the ranked choice voting. Now, he's not mayor yet. There's going to be another election. He may or may not win. But what scares me, not scares, that's not the right word. What concerns me, I'm not scared by it, but I am concerned by how gullible people are in New York City to vote for someone who is a socialist. Now, it's interesting. People like to quote fact checkers today. And one of the so-called fact checkers is PolitiFact. And if you look at their record of so-called fact checking, it's very biased. In other words, the fact checker itself is biased. And so that's why I don't let that's like citing Wikipedia as an authority. No, it's not. Anybody can change it, and the founder of Wikipedia is a progressive. So that's not necessarily fact-checking, and PolitiFact is the same way. But here's what got me on this topic. When I went to PolitiFact, they had at the top this so-called fact-checking that Mamdani is a communist. Now, I'm going to give them a little bit of slack on this. You know, there's a difference between a communist and a socialist. And a communist is one that calls for a one-party system. A communist is one that calls for government ownership of everything, whereas socialism is more government ownership of businesses, and there's also still a two-party system. So there are some minute differences between a communist and a socialist. But PolitiFact was so adamant in defending Mamdani, saying these are just right-wing extremists. They're calling him a communist. Well, I'll give it that he's not necessarily a communist, but he clearly is a Marxist socialist. And so then I wanted to do some research to find out things that he has said that leads me to that conclusion. These aren't things that I'm just speculating about. These are his words. And he has said many things on, and in fact, I want to go to, John, can we go to clip number 16? And I want you to hear Mamdani himself talking about this idea of free housing.
Why do so many people end up homeless? It's not because there aren't enough homes to go around. There are plenty of empty homes. No, it's because housing people is not the primary goal of developers or landlords. Their goal, simply put, is to make a profit. If we want to end the housing crisis, the solution has to be moving toward the full decommodification of housing. In other words, moving away from the status quo, in which most people access housing by purchasing it on the market, and toward a future where we guarantee high-quality housing to all as a human right.
Now, there's a couple of words there I want you to pick up on. Can you imagine saying that?
How dare they want to make a profit?
Oh, I know. It's evil. It's evil to make a profit. But he used a fancy word, a decommodification. And I wanted to pick up on that word because, listen, I'm in the legal business. We use big words sometimes to obfuscate what we're really doing. Okay?
Yes.
So you have a ding, ding, ding on that one, Sue?
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, we do. Okay, we do. I get that. But he's using the word decommodification to hide what he's really saying.
Yep.
And what he's trying to hide is this idea. You heard his own words, but Mamdani is basically stating there should not be any private ownership of housing.
Yep.
That's a scary proposition.
That is downright frightening. Yes.
It is frightening. Because then what you're saying is that if you're a billionaire or if you're a homeless guy, you should have the same level of housing, regardless of freedom of choice, freedom of where you want to live, freedom of how you want to live. He's talking about objectively eliminating capitalism from the entire housing industry. And he was overwhelmingly supported by rich, wealthy, well-to-do New York young people whose parents are all capitalists who were voting for this socialist.
It's disgusting. Now, does he have a lot of money? Is he a trust fund baby? Is he something? That's what I would kind of like to know. Because I heard that somewhere, but I haven't looked it up.
Yeah, his family is interesting. His father was an academic, a far-left academic, and I can't remember. I think his mother was a bureaucrat. So I don't know that he himself comes from enormous money.
Okay.
But once he has started to get popular, people have been donating money to his campaign.
Great.
Which has really propelled him into the public eye.
Idiots.
But yet all of his ideas are just rank and file socialism. Here's another quote from him. And I'm going to read this quote because I want to emphasize certain parts of it. This is what he said last year when he was addressing the young Democratic Socialists of America. These are his words. Right now, if we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But there are also issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, which is boycott, divest, and sanction, whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production where we do not have the same level of support at this very moment, unquote. So he literally quotes from the Communist Manifesto, which is seizing the means of production. Now, if you look at World War II, there's two reasons why we won World War II. Number one was the bravery of our soldiers. Mm-hmm. Number two was the strength of our capitalistic society.
That's right.
We were able to put more jets in the air, more ships on the sea, and more tanks on the ground. If you look at why Russia lost because they could not match the manufacturing capability.
Yep.
And look at Russia now. Russia now can't even build enough weapons to defeat a second-rate country like Ukraine, and they cannot even manufacture to replace their warfare armaments, whether it's missiles, whether it's ammunition, or whether it's tanks, or even drones. They can't make enough unless they get Western technology.
There you go.
Which comes from capitalism. Okay, So if you look at the words of Mondami, he literally wants to take control, to centralize the economy, and to seize the means of production. Folks, that is textbook socialism.
Yep.
And yet all of these kids in New York are embracing him. These kids' parents are capitalists. They're not getting money any other way than through capitalism, and yet they're using their elevated, privileged, if I can use that term, status to support someone who wants to destroy the very families where these young people come from. It's outrageous.
It's just outrageous.
It's outrageous. And I don't know if he's going to win the mayoral race or not. I don't know that. But I can tell you, I hope his ideas do not gain traction outside of the city of New York. Hey, I've got to take a break here. More coming up next. In fact, after the break, we're going to talk to Congressman Bob Onder about the big, beautiful bill that passed today and where Congress is going next after they've secured this literal economic linchpin of the Trump agenda. Next, Brad Young sitting in for Mark Reardon. More on 97.1 FM Talk.
It's the same as the emotion that I get from you. You got the kind of
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com.
or else forget about it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Southbound 270 is still heavy and slow. We still have the right side blocked by an accident north of 55. Now, it looks to me like they've reopened the northbound lanes in that area, and traffic is actually moving much better northbound. But that southbound jam went back close to 44, so it's going to take a while to unwind. And a side effect of this has been southbound Lindbergh is just jammed out, headed for 55. Also a slow go. Eastbound 44 headed for 55, and then for the Poplar Street Bridge, but traffic is light on the bridge itself. And out west, we now just have moderate volume on 64 at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. It slows at the 70 split, and so does westbound 70. It's slow from A through Wentzville. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Cash for Clunkers is back. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is paying cash for your clunkers now. Schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200. It's cash for clunkers now at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Mark Cox in studio with Gloria Liu, broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and St. Louis real estate expert. Gloria, while most agents make big promises, you're famous for your upfront written guarantee.
That's right. My name is My Promise. While many agents promise you an unrealistic sales price just to get your business, I'll provide you with an upfront written guarantee stating if I cannot sell your home for 100% market value, I'll pay you the difference.
Gloria, this is what sets you apart from others and why I only recommend you to my listeners, friends, and family. Friends, why risk working with just any agent when you can work with the best? Gloria Liu guarantees your sale price upfront and in writing.
Absolutely. And if I don't, I will pay you the difference. The agent you choose in this changing market matters and could cost you or make you thousands.
Sell your home with certainty, confidence, and 100% of market value, or Gloria will pay you the difference. Call 314-325-6888 or visit gloriahasthebuyers.com. That's gloriahasthebuyers.com.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Available in so many delicious varieties. Classic, cage-free, organic, free-range, and pasture-raised. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The Mark Reardon Show
on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in today. Glad you are with us on this pre-4th of July holiday, so to speak. And joining us is the very, very busy Congressman Bob Onder from Missouri's 3rd District. Congressman, it's been short on sleep for you recently, hasn't it?
Well, it sure has. Reminds me of my medical residency back many moons ago. Yeah, we're up all night last night, working hard, but at the end of the day, we were able to win a historic victory for the American people.
Right. And people have talked about this as being not just the big, beautiful bill, but obviously big in terms of the president's agenda. Why is it that this bill is such a plank or a centerpiece of President Trump's agenda for his second term?
Well, yeah, this was an enormous part of his agenda. First of all, on November 5th, he ran on making us safer, securing our borders, completing the border wall, building detention facilities and the infrastructure so that we could detain and deport criminal illegal aliens, but also to renew the Tax Cut and Jobs Act to avoid the largest tax increase in U.S. history on the American people, also to restore sound and sane energy policy. We did all of these things and at the same time cut $1.6 trillion in mandatory spending, something that has never been done before. So it was at times a rocky road, but at the end of the day, we got it done, and we are fulfilling our promises as Republicans to the American people.
You know, it's interesting. The mainstream media, Congressman, have been reporting consistently for several weeks now that this represents a $4.5 billion tax cut for the wealthy. But in reality, the tax provisions that are the focus of a lot of this ire, they're in place right now. So the failure to renew them would have been a tax increase, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As much as the Democrats talk about tax cut for billionaires, the fact is, if these tax cuts expired, every American family would face a tax increase. In Missouri, about 20%, about $1,600 for the average American family. And actually, had the Tax Cut and Jobs Act expired, had we not passed the big, beautiful bill, the working class and the middle class would have paid a higher percentage of the federal tax bill than by us delivering today. So there's a lot of demagoguing on the Democrat side. I think Hakeem Jeffries gave a record-long speech with lies and misrepresentations about the bill. But at the end of the day, the question was whether we were going to impose on the American people the largest tax increase in U.S. history. I believe every single Democrat voted yes, and all but a couple of Republicans voted. I'm sorry, every single Democrat voted yes, we would impose the tax increase. We Republicans retained tax relief for hardworking Americans.
We are talking to a 3rd District Congressman right here from Missouri, Bob Onder. Full disclosure, Bob Onder is my doctor, or at least it was previously before he went to Washington. But Congressman, here's the other question I have for you. Right now, everyone has just heard rhetoric after rhetoric after rhetoric from the Democrats about how this is going to be terrible. It's going to destroy our country. It's going to make dogs and cats live together. It's going to be a biblical proportion disaster. Okay, we've heard that. And yet, once regular Americans start to see the effects of this bill, for example, the removal of taxation on tips and some other things that are really going to help blue-collar workers, middle-class Americans, once they see the results of this bill rather than just listening to the rhetoric, don't you think that the results of this bill will be far more popular than what is being presented today?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. President Trump tells the story that he was talking to a waitress on the campaign trail, and she said, I don't think I should have to pay tax on my tips. That gave him the idea. Also, no tax on overtime, and then tax relief for senior citizens on Social Security. But again, tax relief for every American. And that will, the results will speak for themselves. The Trump economy will continue to buzz along. The job creation this month was just released, exceeded expectations. We are in a low inflation, high growth period of time in our history, despite all the turbulence on the world stage. And I think this renewal of this tax cut bill, and along with the fiscal responsibility of cutting $1.6 trillion of mandatory spending, I think it's going to supercharge this economy, and I think the American people will be very, very happy with the results.
It's interesting that we're talking about the economy here, Congressman, because at the beginning of the year, once President Trump took office and started implementing some tariff negotiation strategies, we were told over and over and over again by the left that this would destroy our economy, that our economy would go into a tailspin. That never happened. We were also told, even as recently as earlier this week, that jobs numbers are down, inflation's going to be terrible, and yet when we saw the numbers today, the job growth in this country has exceeded expectations. So at what point, and I know this is hard to guess, but at some point, rather, will mainstream America figure out that the rhetoric they're hearing is false when what they're seeing in front of them is solid economic growth and more economic prosperity for our country?
Yes, I think already the American people are seeing that. They're seeing through the media's lies, the Democrats' hyperbole. Again, we really have a high economic growth, high job creation, low inflation economy. I remember my first few weeks, it was almost surreal. The Democrats back in January, we were talking about nothing but egg prices. I mean, here egg prices had gone up under President Biden over the last few months of his administration, and President Trump was sworn in about 2 days, and they were complaining about eggs. Obviously, commodities have gone up in price, but they have leveled off. I think sensible energy policy will lead to lower gas prices, lower utility costs. I think in every area of the economy, we're going to see really great results for the American people. As Donald Trump has said, we are the hottest country on earth right now, and we're going to keep it that way.
The other thing, too, we're here on July 3rd. Obviously, tomorrow is the celebration of our country's birth, literally. And polling, and again, I hear this coming from the mainstream media that people are not proud to be Americans. And yet, when I look at the actual polling data, it's only the Democrats that are not proud to be Americans today. But when you look at this economy that's growing, the robust economy, we've got a plan to improve the economy. We're strong on a national defense standpoint. Right now, we've got the potential for peace in the Middle East, something that's never been achieved before. We're on the cusp of something great. Other than partisan politics, Congressman, why would any American not be proud to be an American today?
Well, I think people are, and I think we're really seeing a resurgence in patriotism among our young people. We're seeing the military for the first time in many years meet its recruiting numbers. You really got to think, as a young person watching the ineptitude of Joe Biden as commander-in-chief, the horrific pullout from Afghanistan. Who would want that? Who would want to serve under such a commander-in-chief? But President Trump is exerting confidence, love of country, and, of course, an emphasis on peace and stability on the world stage. That is drawing, record numbers of young people into our armed services. But yeah, we see it everywhere. We see people flying their flags. We see people wearing red, white, and blue. I'm, here in DCA Airport, no haven of conservative republicanism with people wearing MAGA hats. So it is morning in America, as Ronald Reagan once put it. We are truly making America great again, and I can't say how honored I am to be representing Missouri and to be on President Trump's team.
We're talking to Missouri Congressman Bob Onder. And Congressman, last question. I know this reconciliation bill has been truly the focus on Capitol Hill for quite some time. Now that this is behind you, and once you get a chance to take a nap and catch up on your rest, what's next for Congress?
Well, yeah, I think the next thing is to work on the budget. And, in the reconciliation bill, we had a unique opportunity to reform mandatory spending programs like Medicaid, like food stamps, like some of the student loan programs. And now we're going to the so-called discretionary spending. That's the budget we are supposed to pass every year, although Congress hasn't passed a budget in a long time. We need to restrain spending. We already passed a rescission bill that President Trump submitted, where the House cut $9.3 billion from discretionary spending, but we've got a lot more work to do if we're going to restore fiscal sanity. We have a $37 trillion debt. We've got to work on that every day to get spending in line.
Well, drink some chamomile tea, get some good rest, Congressman, and thank you for all that you're doing for Missourians in Washington, D.C.
Thanks for having me. Happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day. We'll be back right after this on the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young sitting in today, 97.1 FM Talk.
You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident southbound 270 approaching 55. The right lane, I was going to say the two right lanes, but it's really the right lane and the right shoulder that are blocked by this accident. And we have a jam behind it, and it goes back through about Highway 30. Now, southbound Lindbergh is extra slow because of that at 55, but at least all the northbound lanes are open through there. Now, northbound 55, that is a slow go, headed for the Poplar Street Bridge, but westbound 40 has thinned out downtown. In fact, really the only volume out west is 64 and 70 at their split. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hi, this is Steve Butts with the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. I know we're all experiencing sticker shock when you get your insurance premium. Now more than ever, you need an independent insurance agent to find the best value for your family's insurance needs. Crawford Butts, family owned and operated for more than 60 years. Please give us a call at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com.
What's your favorite four-letter word? Chances are you've said it more than a few times dealing with this crazy world we live in. But at Compass Retirement Solutions, our four-letter word of choice is hope. Hope for a better tomorrow. And hope that your retirement plans don't take a back seat. You've watched inflation soar, and maybe your retirement future feels a little uncertain right now. But all hope is not lost. Find out exactly how much risk you're still taking with your investments. Find out how you may be able to save big on taxes. And find out how having a written retirement plan just might give you the hope you've been looking for. Call today to set up a meeting. 314-373-1598. That's 314-373-1598. Compass Retirement Solutions. 314-373-1598. Firm offers insurance services but does not provide tax advice. Investments and services offered through Compass Retirement Group, a registered investment advisory firm in Missouri and Illinois. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
It's 5:46 on 97.1 FM Talk. This time check sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
When you ride, you feel the freedom of the open road. But when the road turns dangerous and an accident happens, the pain and confusion can be overwhelming. If you're injured in a motorcycle accident, you need someone who understands. At Kaufman Townsley, we're your St. Louis neighbors. We live here, work here, and we know how important your recovery is. We'll fight for you so you can focus on healing. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Hey, it's Kim. Hope you all have a wonderful and safe 4th of July. Scott, Ethan, Sue, and I will see you Monday morning starting at 5 a.m.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
The Mark Reardon Show.
On 97.1 FM Talk. If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com.
Welcome back to the Mark Reardon Show. Brad Young, you're winding up the show today. Thanks for sticking around with us. We've covered a lot of stuff today. Earlier in the show, We talked a little bit about the P. Diddy verdict, and I've covered all of the ins and outs of the legality of it, but I want to touch on a different angle of the P. Diddy story, which I think is even more important than how much time is he going to serve or what did the jury think. I want to elevate this to about a 30,000-foot level. And to start with that, though, let's go to the audio cut of the day.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
And the one thing I'm going to leave you with this. We are not nearly done fighting. We are just getting started. To win this and to defeat the prosecutors from the Southern District of New York takes effort from beginning to end. Today was a major, major step in the right direction, but we fight on and we're going to win, and we're not going to stop until he walks out of prison a free man to his family.
Sue, think back to when you heard the OJ verdict. What did you think? Now, we didn't rehearse this ahead of time. What did you think when you heard the OJ verdict?
Well, your heart drops because you know the man is guilty, and you're just horrified by the entire thing.
Yeah. My thought then, this was years ago, my thought when it came down was, what the hell is wrong with the jury? Okay? I mean, sorry to put it that way.
But you're right.
But what is wrong with them? This guy is obviously guilty.
Yes.
They were trying to make a social statement by acquitting him of obvious murder. He butchered 2 individuals, and he walked. What the hell is wrong with the jury?
Yes.
And then, when the crowds were cheering OJ, I thought, what the hell is wrong with you?
Now, I remember that, now that you say it. It's like the world turned upside down.
Right, exactly, because I thought, you are cheering
a criminal.
Not just a criminal, a murderer. A murderer. You're cheering this man who murdered his wife and murdered another person.
The mother of his kids.
He murdered them,
Yeah.
and you're cheering them. And I got to tell you, I felt the exact same way when the verdict came down and the people were cheering
it's disgusting.
outside of the courthouse. I thought, what in the hell is wrong with you for doing this? Because to me, it casts a bigger shadow on our culture.
Yes.
Because we've completely obliterated the lines between famous and infamous. You know, those things used to mean 2 different things. If someone's famous, they've done something good. If someone's infamous, they've done something bad, right?
Yes.
But in our culture today, we have merged those 2 words to say that if you're a celebrity, it doesn't matter if you're good or bad, we're going to cheer you because you are a celebrity.
And having listened to even just a little bit of some of the testimony that these people were saying, I mean.
I know. Here's a man who, with P. Diddy, here's a man who abused women.
We have, if nothing else, you can watch the video of him dragging her by her hair in a hotel.
Committing, we don't even know all of the acts and debauchery that this man has either committed or directed, and then people are cheering him. Why? Because he's famous, okay? And to me, that is really something. I've got a niece who's just now 16, and I've asked her many times, what do you want to be? And she always tells me the same thing. I want to be an influencer.
Oh, gosh.
And I say, why? Why do you want? Number one, what is an influencer? I mean, I know what it is, but I ask her, what is an influencer? She can't define it. And number 2, she can't define it. And number 2, she says, I want to be rich and famous.
Oh, gosh.
And so the point being is we used to admire firefighters, police officers, astronauts, okay? Because why? Because they did something noble and worthwhile and beneficial and self-sacrificial, okay? And we admired them for it. And now we admire debauchery as long as they're loaded and they've got a lot of followers on Instagram. And we admire them as a culture, even though what they do is despicable, it's reprehensible, and it represents debauchery on a scale that we've never seen before because of his degree of wealth, and now he's being praised. And part of me wants to say it's the fault of the kids, but you know what I realize? It's really the fault of the parents.
Yep, that's how it's getting there.
Because as parents of children of this age, where is the guidance to say, do something valuable with your life? What value
Meaning.
is meaning, of substance, of
Yes.
self-sacrifice,
Yes.
of putting other people first. Where's any of those values when you're some sort of a TikTok influencer?
And you
There's
know
nothing
what?
in there.
Working hard and even something that's physical labor or just good, clean work for the benefit of others and yourself, whatever it is, hard work is kind of what keeps people sane, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And if you don't have meaning and you don't have a purpose, then you can flitter off anywhere, and that is not good. For you.
Exactly. But it's that sense of purpose and
Yes.
accomplishment that this country, the bedrock of this country, was built upon.
Mm-hmm.
And now it seems like that's slipping away culturally in America. Because these parents, if you're a parent today of a small child, and their statement to you is they want to grow up to be an influencer, teach them what it means to be self-sacrificing.
Yeah.
Teach them what it means to work hard and accomplish something.
Yes.
And that there's more to life than being rich and famous. Because at the end of the day, and I'm not trying to preach a sermon, but
No.
there's a phrase, a biblical phrase, which is wood, hay, and stubble, meaning it all burns up.
Yep.
And if you are a rich celebrity, there is nothing of tangible value in that.
It isn't.
And yet even
isn't.
adults today were dancing with baby oil outside of the Diddy verdict of the courthouse, celebrating that he was released. And listen, from a legal perspective, I've been following this very closely because I knew that 97.1 or KMOX
Right.
or other places are going to ask me
Yes.
to analyze it. But at the end of the day, I don't really care how much time Diddy does or how much time he doesn't do, how much time he spends in prison. I'm more concerned, like we heard with the defense attorney cheering on. This is a day to celebrate. That's why I wanted to play that quote. This is a day to celebrate. I'm more concerned with the parts of our culture that are celebrating debauchery today.
Yes.
For the sole reason that he's rich and famous. That's all it is. What else has Diddy done? Nothing. He's
Nothing.
rich and he's famous. And because of that, we're going to sing his praises when he's been convicted. We've seen it before our eyes. He's been convicted of debauchery. So I don't really care how much time he serves. And I'm thinking in prison, even if he goes to one of those country club prisons, he's getting some punishment. But at the end of the day, he's one man. But this obsession with celebrity and richness in our country, when we should be aspiring to greater values than that.
And you're absolutely right. And none of this is good for these victims.
No, not at all. I mean, here's another example of women who were
Yep.
sexually brutalized.
Yes.
They described it to the jury, and a jury of 8 men and 4 women said, "We don't believe you."
I cannot tell you the damage that does.
How could you watch the video and not believe a woman saying, "He sexually abused me"? It's outrageous. I could
is.
spend another 10 minutes on it, but I won't because we're coming up on a hard break here. Brad Young sitting in for Mark Reardon today. Thanks for letting me hang out. I'm sure Mark will be back soon on 97.1 FM Talk.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we have all but thinned out. There's still a little bit of a slowdown on southbound 270, headed for 55. That's where we had that earlier accident, and that is on the shoulder. So there is just that little delay in the area. It's in the right lane and the right shoulder. And that's it. If you're headed into Illinois, we look great. And out west, there's just a little bit of volume westbound 70 at Wentzville. Have a great 4th of July. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Are you ready? Creed. By overwhelming demand, the Summer of '99 tour returns. Saturday, August 2nd, Thunder Ridge Nature Arena. With very special guest, Daughtry.